We're going to be starting. Before I start, we reserved the first 2 rows for veterans. All right, if there's not enough veterans, then please, and you need to sit and you don't want to stand, please come up and, have a seat there. We're going to start the presentation off, of course, tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Brewster Boy Scout Troop Number 1 will be leading us in the colors. Mr. Duncan, it's all yours.
Salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tie your colors.
Mr. Hay, please open the meeting.
Okay. Notation exits in the front and the rear here, an electronic device. Please put it on vibrate and make a motion to come out of the executive session. No action was taken.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next will be a proclamation, Town of Southeast is a Purple Heart town. Mr. Alvarez, you got the speaker.
Yes, but before we do that, please remain standing. I'm going to ask Ms. Crystal Colon to come up and sing our national anthem. Front and center.
Okay. Here we go next. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare that bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave, and the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. Please remain standing. Just a quick moment of silence, just to remember those that, of course, are no longer with us. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. Taking time, I guess, have a seat for a quick second, and then I'm sure I'll ask you to stand up again. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight who took time out of their schedule to join us. Tonight we will be celebrating America's freedoms, the Purple Heart. I'm going to be asking Brigadier General Sheriff Don Smith to come up and do an invocation for us, please. Sheriff.
Thank you, Edward. Would you all please stand and let's bow our heads in prayer. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for all our many blessings. We thank you for our country, our families, and we thank you for loving us. As we assemble here tonight at the seat of government in the town of Southeast, we ask your blessings on our men and women in the armed forces serving all around the world for freedom's cause, for our police officers, our firefighters, our emergency medical first responders, and all those who serve in harm's way to keep us safe. Father, we pray for your blessings on all of our elected and appointed officials at the national, state, county, town, and village level, and for our special officials, such as our school board members and fire commissioners. Father, we ask that you grant them the wisdom needed to perform the duties of their offices and help them always to do what's best for the people they serve. Please give them courage to always do the right thing, even in the face of adversity. Father, tonight we especially ask that you grant wisdom, patience, and courage to all members of the Southeast Town Board. We ask that through the power of your Holy Spirit, you help them make this meeting productive, and that everything that is accomplished here tonight be in the best interest of the residents of the town of Southeast and be acceptable in your sight, O Lord. Father, please continue to bless all the residents of the town of Southeast, Putnam County, New York State. And most of all, we ask that you continue to bless the beacon of freedom, hope, and justice, the United States of America. Please help us, Father, be a blessing to other people in everything that we do. And all this we ask in the name of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and in the name of Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, in whose holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sheriff. All right, you guys have a seat for a minute, please. Just going to briefly like to give a definition of what the Purple Heart is tonight. Just the Purple Heart is one of the most recognized and respected medals awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces, introduced as the badge of military merit by General George Washington in 1782. The Purple Heart is also the nation's oldest military award. The Purple Heart is awarded in the name of the President of the United States to any member of the Armed Forces of the United States who, while serving under competent authority in any capacity with one of the U.S. Armed Services after April 5, 1917, has been wounded or killed. Just going to mention a couple of dignitaries in the audience. I'll ask you just refrain from clapping, maybe towards the end. I want to thank the Boy Scouts again, so give them a round of applause, please. A few representatives couldn't be here. They're in session. Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney is in session, so he couldn't be here. He was invited. Senator Terrence Murphy is also in session. Later on, Mary Ellen and Joe Castellano will be representing him. Assemblyman State Katz is also in session. I think Tara is here representing him. Mary Ellen Odell, of course, our county executive, is here. Putnam County District Attorney Adam Levy is here. Sheriff Don Smith. Putnam County Clerk Mike Bartolardi is here. Legislators Joe Castellano is here. Roger Gross sends his regrets. Unfortunately, he had a previous commitment. We have the mayor and a couple of trustees from the village. So Jim Schoenig is here and Tom Bossanat. Sorry, Tom. I know I mutilated that. Ken Smith, Town of Carmel Supervisor. Then we have Carl Rohde, Director of Putnam County Veterans Service Agency, plus he's the past state commander. And we have Art Hanley, Commander-elect, VFW Post 672. And I don't know if Ron Lipschitz was able to join us tonight or not, but he had also said he'd be here. My fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. John F. Kennedy. Our veterans are the epitome of President Kennedy's quote, "For they gave so much through their military service and sacrifice so that we may enjoy our freedom and our way of life." Freedom is not free. We are forever indebted to those who have had the calling and served to preserve our way of life today. On behalf of everyone in this room, the town of Southeast, and Putnam County, I would like to take a moment to extend my gratitude and appreciation to those men and women who have nobly served, giving testimony to their loyalty and selfless commitment to this great country of ours. These extraordinary veterans devoted a part of their lives to a cause greater than themselves. They helped to preserve the safety and freedom of the United States of America through honor and integrity, for which I am eternally grateful for and would like to express my deepest and most profound appreciation. It is my honor and privilege to stand before all of you today and be of service to you. Thank you all for your service. I personally salute you. At this point, I'd like to invite the town board members, if anybody would like to join us, to come down here. I'm going to invite Commander Neil Gross and Vice Commander Eugene Lang, Sr., the Military Order of the Purple Heart, Chapter 21. I'd also like to recognize all vets in the audience. So if there's a vet in the audience, please stand up. And if there are any Purple Heart recipients, please come up here to join us as well. So please take a moment to do that, and let's make it happen. Tony doesn't want any special recognition, but he is a Purple Heart recipient himself. All right? All right. Just come around. All right. Whereas the Purple Heart is awarded to men and women in the United States military who were wounded or lost their lives in combat by enemy forces while defending the United States of America. And whereas the town board of the town of Southeast salutes all the brave men and women who sacrificed their lives, the ultimate price of freedom, and those that left their families, friends, and communities and placed themselves in harm's way for the freedom and protection of all Americans. And whereas the town board of the town of Southeast acknowledges the heroic and selfless contributions and sacrifices of these men and women in the military because they are the foundation in maintaining the freedoms and way of life for all Americans. And whereas the town board of the town of Southeast recognizes the men and women of the military who reside in the town of Southeast, those who made ultimate sacrifice, and those who served in the armed forces, and who are the recipient of the Purple Heart Medal. We honor them and commend them for their acts of bravery, and now, therefore, be it resolved by the order of the town board of the town of Southeast, who hereby proclaims the town of Southeast as a Purple Heart town, and recognizes the dedication and sacrifices of all men and women in the United States military who valiantly serve to protect the freedoms enjoyed by all Americans. God bless our armed forces, and God bless the United States of America. I present this to you. Thank you so much for your service, gentlemen. Please say a few words.
I'll follow you. All right. It'll make up the difference. I would like to thank the town board of Southeast for proclaiming and becoming a Purple Heart town. Right now, we're in the process of working on Putnam County to get all the towns Purple Heart town. If we get everybody together, you will be the first county to be all Purple Heart towns. We also like to let you know what the Military Order of the Purple Heart does. I know I'm repeating myself because it's been a few. We do work with disabled vets. We will do barbecues for them. We also ask towns if they don't mind putting up a basket or something where people can donate clothes, because there are veterans that do need it. And what we do is we'll pick it up after you call us, and we'll take it over to Montrose. And Montrose will send, well, the VA will send you a very nice letter thanking you for what you have done. We also have been asked by veterans for baby diapers and baby formulas. These are things that we collect. Same thing again, we will take it up to Montrose. And believe me, these veterans do appreciate it, and they're more than thankful. And those are some of the things that we do. There's a lot more things. We pay for their haircuts, we pay for their bowling, all these things that the VA used to pay for at one time. They've cut back on it. So what we do is we will pay for them to get a haircut. Like some of these guys have to be, fellas, veterans, they have to be there for like a minimum of 45 days for treatment, but the VA will not pay for their haircuts. We will issue a check and we will pay for their haircuts. And believe it or not, there is a bowling alley in Montrose. You think they would take him there? No. They'll drive him up to West Point, and we will, I'm going to make it short, and we will pay for that, for them to go bowling. He's going to be longer. But thank you again.
Thank you, Eugene. Okay. My fellow veterans, you don't have to stand up, especially the sheriff, okay? I also, first of all, I want to let everybody know that I'm a Putnam Valleyite from Putnam Valley, so I'm really not too far away from you. That's where I grew up, in Putnam Valley. And I can't tell you how proud I am of Putnam County, Mary Ellen, whole of Putnam County. It's like, how many people here have heard of the group Rolling Thunder? You've heard of Rolling Thunder? Okay. We have Rolling Thunder right here, right now, okay? I can tell you what's happened. Mary Ellen and the town of Putnam was the first county in New York to proclaim itself a Purple Heart County. Then, accidentally, I don't know how, but I know it's up to Eugene that made it happen, okay? He contacted all the towns in Putnam County, and lo and behold, I'm at Carmel Town Hall, and what's his name, Ken Schmidt, okay, is handing us a proclamation making Carmel, rather, a Purple Heart Town. And then Kent, where's Miss Fleming? Where are you? There you are, okay? Very proud to be with you on Tuesday night, okay? And tonight I'm in Southeast. What a beautiful town, what a beautiful group of people you are. Pure patriots, okay? And this is what we need to have more of. We have to make this country aware of the sacrifices that our men and women are making today that we made in the future, and in the past, rather, and will continue to make in the future. But that's not what I'm here for tonight. I'm not here to accept a proclamation. I'm here for Nico. Where's Nico? Raise your hand. Okay, the young, little 10-year-old, not little, young 10-year-old young man over there, and all the Boy Scouts in the back and all the young people today. I've been an educator now for 45 years. I know I don't look it, okay, including being a high school principal. And what I found is that our young people today have a very weak sense of what this country is all about. This country is built upon, as Mr. Alvarez said, sacrifice. Over and over again, Americans have risen to the causes and have saved this world from fascism, from communism, okay? We have been there in the vanguard, in the front, helping keep this country, keeping this world, okay, a better place to live. I am only one person, okay? But Gene and I are brothers. Not real brothers, okay, but brothers, okay, in the sense that we sacrificed, along with many other people, Carl Rody and other people in Vietnam, and we were in the sweltering heat, having people trying to kill us. I don't understand why I'm such a nice guy, okay? But when we came home, we didn't come home to what we have tonight. And that's really why I'm here. I'm here because you welcomed me back. Finally, after 45 years, I'm back home. Because when I came home, I took my uniform off, I put it away, and I never took it out. When I went to look for a job, and the application said, okay, are you a veteran? What do you think I put down on that application? I put down no, because being a veteran at that time, being from in a very unpopular conflict, okay, I came back with no parade. I didn't have a parade. My father, Albert Gross, when he came back from World War II, he had a parade. And he had flowers thrown at him. That wasn't the way they were received. Today, our veterans are getting better treatment in the sense that this country realizes their sacrifices and realizes how important they are to maintaining our freedoms. We've got to do all we can to help our veterans. The number 22, I mentioned that number over and over again, and over it's in my mind. On the average, 22 active duty reservists or fellow veterans of mine, okay, commit suicide. They commit suicide for a variety of reasons. Unemployment, homelessness, helplessness, doesn't matter what, but we have got to work together. The town of Southeast, the town of Kent, the town of Carmel, the town of Putnam County have got to work together to make sure that we do all we can to support our veterans. Not me, I'm an old guy, okay? We've got a lot of young guys in the hospitals today who need our help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I forgot to mention, I know District Attorney Adam Levy's in the audience as well. I think I missed him before, and I believe my friend from Putt Valley, Bob Tendy, is also here. At this point in time, I'd like to call Mary Ellen to come up along with Legislator Castellano. They're going to be presenting something not only from the county, but in regards to Terrence Murphy, who couldn't be here.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank our colleagues in government, the town of Southeast, for recognizing our Purple Heart recipients. But this evening, I think that it should be noted that this past Sunday, April the 19th, marked the first anniversary of the passing of a true patriot and a Purple Heart recipient and a son of Southeast, Mr. Dennis Castelli. And for those of us who knew Dennis, you loved Dennis. And when Dennis wasn't advocating for our historic integrity here in Putnam County, he was always advocating for his fellow veterans. And as Commander Gross and Senior Vice Commander Mr. Lang have noted, veterans are not ones to be here to take accolades and accommodations for themselves. They do it for each other, for their brothers, for their comrades, for those that they stood shoulder to shoulder with in conflict, both in the battlefield and at home. And to their families as well, the people of Putnam County that I'm so honored to represent, we'd like to thank and acknowledge all of them as well. Dennis Castelli is the reason why Putnam County has the distinguished honor of being the first Purple Heart County in New York State. Dennis Castelli beat 59 counties to the punch, and he was extremely proud when we were able to achieve that honor. It astounded the leadership in the state for the Military Order of the Purple Heart that our tiny little county was able to get in first for this honor. And so they came to Putnam County because they had to meet the people that made this possible. And it was really a wonderful celebratory moment for Mr. Castelli, and he was extremely proud, as I was as well, to be a part of that. And after the honor was officially bestowed upon us, Dennis designed this Purple Heart symbol for us here in Putnam County. His wife, I would refer to her rather than widow, Athena, left this for me in my office today, and I thought it was extremely fitting that I would today gift this to both the commander and the junior vice commander of the Military Order of the Purple Heart on behalf of a grateful county and a grateful nation. And thank you for your service, and welcome home.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This is a fantastic event for the town board, the town of Southeast. Very proud to be here and very thankful for all that these men and women do for us in the armed forces. On behalf of Senator Terrence Murphy, we have a proclamation for the town of Southeast on becoming a Purple Heart town, and it's a great evening here in Southeast and in Putnam County. Thank you very much.
Almost done. I don't stay up here, photo ops or whatever, take some pictures later on. Ken Schmidt, Carmel supervisor, walked in late, and Maureen Fleming, I didn't fail to recognize you as well. Thank you. Almost over. I want to call Carl Rody to come up here and say a couple of words as well, please.
Good evening, everybody. This is a very proud moment for the town of Southeast and for Putnam County at large. All too often, as Commander Gross said, the Vietnam veterans were not recognized, but we want to ensure that every veteran is recognized, that every veteran gets a welcome home, gets honored, gets respected. And one of the things that he mentioned, and I know it's not something because this is a joyful time because we're receiving this Purple Heart award. And I want to say I was very fortunate. I guess I knew how to duck better than these guys. I didn't get hit. So I'm not a recipient of the Purple Heart. But when Commander Gross mentioned the 22 veterans that commit suicide each day, 22 veterans, just think about that, 22 veterans per day are committing suicide. And that's something that's rough to understand, rough to get your head around. And it's not just the young veterans, it's veterans all the way up through World War II. And we have to stop that. And what I want to offer to the town of Southeast, if they would like to hold it, Art Hanley, the Deputy Director of the Veterans Service Agency, and myself are trained in a thing that's called Safe Talk that helps people. We train people to recognize somebody that may want to commit suicide, that may be thinking of harming themselves. Not necessarily to intervene, because a lot of people are a little, have difficulty trying to intervene. But if you can recognize the signs, maybe you can get him or her some help. Maybe you can recognize it and make some recommendations. And it's not just for veterans, it's to help the civilians too. But we'd be willing to come to the town of Southeast and give those classes to help people of Southeast recognize their citizens that may be contemplating suicide, because it's a terrible number, 22 a day. And on the veterans side, on the active duty side, more active duty service members in the last 2 years, listen to this, more active duty service members in the last 2 years died at their own hand than that were killed overseas. That's a frightening number, and we've got to stop this epidemic. I thank you for this honor. I really do. Fellow veteran, smile to me. And I just want to, there's a young lady there, Jess, you want to just wave your hand? This is Jessica. We have a program in Putnam County called Peer to Peer, where we're going out with veterans, helping veterans, working with veterans, and also family members. Her dad was in the desert over there in Iraq. I know he's one of the deserts, but he was over there in the desert, and she's helping us with this peer-to-peer program, and she's our coordinator for it. And we have to get out there. We have to help our veterans, and we're never going to forget. Again, thank you.
Tara's going to come up representing Assemblyman Katz, and then 2 more items, and we're done.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tara Keegan, and I'm the Chief of Staff for Assemblyman Steve Katz. I'm also accompanied by Nancy Cobfell, who is the District Office Director. I would like to thank the town of Southeast for inviting our office to be a part of this special occasion. The Assemblyman apologizes that he could not be here this evening, but I can assure you the Assemblyman has great pride to be your representative up in Albany and being your voice. The Assemblyman, Nancy, and I are extremely proud to serve Putnam County because of your loyalty and dedication to the veterans. You provide so much service to honor, to recognize these veterans for all they have done for our country to maintain our liberties and freedoms. So I would like to thank Mary Ellen Odell, the county legislators, and all the towns for all that you do for the veterans. And to the veterans this evening, thank you. There's no words that I could say or that someone could say to show our appreciation for all you have done. So without further ado, I'd like to present this citation. Resolved that as a duly elected member of the State Assembly of New York, I recognize that the town of Southeast is an outstanding town deserving of recognition and being acknowledged as a Purple Heart town is worthy of the esteem of the County of Putnam, our nation, the community, and the great state of New York, signed and dated April 23rd, 2015 by Dr. Stephen M. Katz, member of the Assembly. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming out this evening and honoring the town of Southeast. Thank you.
This weekend, Jack is going to, with the Boy Scouts, they're going to be doing the Bob Palmer Project. So 9 a.m. this Saturday, Milltown Cemetery, as well as 1 o'clock, St. Lawrence Cemetery, if anybody's interested in coming out there and helping out. All right? And last but not least, again, I'm going to ask Crystal to come back up and sing God Bless America, and end tonight's presentation.
Beside her, and God
well, I thank everybody who showed up tonight to recognize these men. All right, maybe we'll take a quick 2-minute recess and let the room either empty out, take a couple pictures and whatnot, and then we'll go on with tonight's meeting. Thank you again for coming. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you to the Boy Scouts, okay?
I make a motion to come out of recess.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to continuation of the public hearing for the comprehensive plan.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Prior to coming up for anyone speaking this evening, this is going to be continued as well after this evening. There's a few items that are in process now, so we're not going to close the public hearing tonight on the comprehensive plan. So if anyone would like to speak that hasn't spoken in the past, we had a comment period. We received a few comments, but the continuation of this will be at the next meeting, which will be May 9th, May 7th.
May 7th,
I keep getting
yes.
confused. May 7th. Anyone wish to speak to this evening? You'll have a chance again, May 7th. And try not to be repetitive, please. Oh, it's for everybody, not just you, Ann.
Good evening. My name is Ann Finizzi. I'd like just to make some short comments concerning the comprehensive plan. I have received several materials, and I thank Michelle for her patience and also the members of her staff. A couple of weeks ago, I made note that the original mission of the comprehensive plan was a limited one and principally restricted to those areas of Route 6 that really presented a problem. And when I mention Route 6, I mean Route 6 going from the village of Brewster to the Connecticut line. I received a letter dated January 3rd, 2013, which supported what I said. The letter is from AKRF, and what they said was the following, and I'm just going to read a short portion from the second paragraph. Please note that this would not be a complete write-up of the comprehensive plan, but rather a strategic update to correct areas of the comprehensive plan that have become outdated, outmoded, or are otherwise not addressing the current needs of the town of Southeast. And it was apparent from all the meetings that we had for about 6 or 7 months, maybe a little bit more, that there were certain needs that were not being met, and those needs had to do with the business owners that were located along the Route 6 corridor. And this also was confirmed by a letter from Mr. Anthony Lisi, and I think we all know Mr. Lisi. He had a 3-page letter where he enumerated some of the difficulties along that particular road. So what I also discovered was that in tapes, and I purchased the tapes and I had some of the tapes made from the meetings, that the original mission, which again was tweaking, and I looked up the word tweaking because that's the way it was presented to us, making fine adjustments, fine tuning. What happened is that slowly the comprehensive plan update that I received was not tweaking. It was a full-scale write-up of the comprehensive plan. And it was done, we might say, the reverse of what even the state recommended. Instead of having the comprehensive plan first written and then the zoning code attached to it, what happened was that the zoning code was changed, and then the comprehensive plan was written to fit the zoning code that was changed. That is not the way the state recommends it, It is not the way it should have been done. And what I wrote is, yes, the grievances that the business owners had along Route 6 had to be met and had to be addressed. And I think that by and large, they were addressed. And that should have been the extent of our concern with the comprehensive plan. What you then had, inexplicably, mission creep, literally mission creep, that all of a sudden, and again, I just received it, there was a letter from the supervisor on the tape. The planning board chairman said, we want to, at a planning board meeting, which I did not attend, did not realize that the comprehensive plan was even going to be discussed. Okay? And what he said is, oh yes, we want to have commercial businesses throughout the town. And that's exactly what happened in the updated plan and in the legislative intent. That was not the intent that I was presented with, nor many of the folks that attended the meetings. And again, I say if you want to update the meeting of the comprehensive plan, fine, then you have that one as the mission to do it. But not to have this sort of, today was $35, next week will be $45, but I've been constantly trying to get more and more information that I did not realize that no one had. And I attended most of those meetings. I'm a rather nerdy person and conscientious, so I did attend most of the meetings. So I again ask this board, yes, to do what has to be done on the Route 6 corridor. There were grievances. As a matter of fact, Mr. Lisi's letter was as of February or March of 2014. So we had been in session since 2013, okay? So this question of problems occurring along this road, and I'm not going to enumerate them because they were significant problems, and that really the board had to address. And they continued because they were kind of thorny and they were problematic. And some of us understood the problems and some of us did not. So I'm asking that that portion, yes, be the part of the plan that had to be addressed, write up the legislative intent for that portion and that portion only. But to have mission creep and to put uses that we were opposed to in the plan, everyone that I was sitting there was opposed to motor vehicle bureaus, or not motor vehicle bureaus, dealerships on Route 6. We were all opposed to that. And the residents also were opposed. All of the surveys said either discourage or get rid of the dealerships. And yet, it's there, okay? There are other uses that we did not discuss, were not part of the original mission, and so let's not be like Iraq, where we have mission creep and we can't get out of it. Let's go back to the Route 6. Again, if you wish to convene another comprehensive plan, do so, that's fine. And then if there are various other zones that have problems, whether they're the neighborhood business zone, whatever, I will tell you frankly, the outdoor storage was one of the main problems. I came down from my home, and I live on the border of Carmel, okay? And I went by a business that was very nice. And I don't know if I want to mention the business, but
No,
I will.
you don't.
Well, I'll mention it. The outdoor storage, now we see tankers, we see trucks, we see paraphernalias right next to the deli, who complained about Simon's problems. Well, I looked at it tonight, and I look at it all the time because I live very close there. That to me should not have happened. And it's right near the bikeway. So a person gets off the bikeway and they are greeted by tankers, trucks, and other kinds of paraphernalia that this business has to have because that's his business. But is that the proper location for it? And we have to look at the outdoor storage because that was one of the thorny problems that occurred. And you could have outdoor storage in every single code. You can't do, you really need to discuss it and discuss it more. A hotel and a motel, every single code has it? Cannot be. It just can't, and that was never discussed. It was never discussed. The supervisor had a letter. The first time I saw that letter was 3 or 4 days ago. I said, what is this letter? And that's because I foiled. I foiled for the entire file of the comprehensive plan. I drove Michelle crazy. But
Not just Michelle.
I filed, okay? But I filed, and I went through every single piece of paper, and again, I thank her. She's always been most gracious, and her staff, too. So I don't want to repeat this, but I think that you have to look carefully and look very carefully at what he's doing. Over here again, here is the New York State guidance, for town boards. It says zoning and comprehensive plan. That's what it says. And in the inset, it says, what are the benefits of a comprehensive plan? It provides a process for identifying community resources, long-range community needs, and commonly held goals. Certainly my goal, and what came about, was not the goal, okay? Provides a process for developing community consensus. It is essential that there be community consensus on a plan. We cannot have planning board chairmen or supervisors or town officials doing whatever they want to do. This is our town. And so we must have community consensus. And it provides a blueprint for future government action. It is very clear. It is several pages long, but if we were to follow it, then we would not be in this situation that I have outlined today. Thank you very much. You've been very patient.
Anyone else to the subject? I make a motion to continue the public hearing to May 7th.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to move to the work session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
First is discussion for Maple Road. We had a fairly lively discussion last time. We received numerous emails and letters since. I want to thank Mr. Ballantyne, who dropped off some paperwork today to the town, quite a bit. It was just dropped off at 2 o'clock, so you didn't have an opportunity to review it. Basically, he's got the speeds currently on the road. I think it was as high as 48 miles an hour. I think he was hiding in the woods on some of these because he was not secretive, but he's got a tremendous amount of speed checks on Maple Road, various times, various days, and has some comments which I share with you tomorrow because I just got it, like I said, at 2 o'clock today. For those of you on Maple Road, the decision of whether it's paved or unpaved will lie with the superintendent of highways and not the town board. But I'm going to ask any of you this evening from Maple Road, your friends, if you have emails, I would like you, some point in time, tomorrow, thereafter, if you want to be notified if and when something is to take place on Maple Road, because nothing is going to happen tonight. We brought you back because I do have some information to update you with that we didn't have the last time. The files have an opportunity to review. They're in my office. Some of the town board members have reviewed it. And we have some updates, which I passed out to them today, which I just got from the highway superintendent about the cost. And again, the town engineer, but the final decision whether or not this gets done will be with the highway superintendent. So if you have emails and you would like to be notified the next time that an action may or may not be taken on Maple Road, we will notify you. Because if you're going to look online at the agenda to see if Maple Road's on there, you may miss it. We don't want anyone that's really interested not to miss it. Can I finish before you ask questions, if you don't mind? And so let me briefly tell you the update. At one point in time, it was around $300,000 and change for the repaving or the paving of Maple Road. The number is approximately $500,000. New York City DEP at one point in time, I won't say gave consent, but whatever they gave at that time has to be reworked. The superintendent of highways has been in contact with the town of Carmel about, the exit going through the upper end of the road. I believe the Reed Road, is it Reed Road? Reed Road? Kelly? No, the other one. Reed, up in Marnell Estates. Peter Road? Peter Road. Peter Road is really almost not an option, and he's checking with the town of Carmel. So again, if you have an email address, you can email the town clerk with your email address, and if and when something comes up, no action will be taken, at least until everyone's had an opportunity to be notified. The superintendent of highways will come that evening and tell us of his determination. Can't say if it's going to happen, when, where, don't know that. He has to do a lot of research. I have a file in my office that I got from the town engineer, which he's reviewed. The superintendent of highways had a review. As you know, this has been going on for probably 15, 20 years. Numerous letters, numerous petitions signed by the public, fit both in favor or against, and I'm not even saying if it's 50-50, but there's quite a bit of conversation about this item. So other than that, I hate to bring you all out, but I mean, this is about the best we can do at this point in time. So the superintendent of highways will review it. I cannot say it's going to happen in a week, a month, or whatever, but if you do provide us with the information, we will notify you and we'll take no action until everyone on the road or whoever lets us know. It'll also be on our webpage when it happens. If you look every week, you're going to be either happy or disappointed it's not on the agenda. But at some point in time, we will tell you whether it's going to happen or not, and we want to give you ample time. And the one gentleman had his hand up. If you'd like to speak, would you just come up to the mic, if you don't mind, please? Sure. And anyone else who would like to make a comment, you can come up to the mic as well, please.
Hi, I'm Mike Durante. I live at 100 Enoch Crosby Road. I've been there since 1998. First of all, I'm kind of confused why the superintendent of highways is making this decision on our neighborhood that we have to drive through every day of our lives, and we've put up with this. I know there's somebody on the board that walks that road every day. She doesn't live or have to drive on the road if she doesn't choose to. And I know she's come out in the past against the road being paved. When we came here last month, I think many of us who have lived through this nightmare were pretty happy when we left, because you basically said that there's not a discussion about if the road's being paved or not. It's not the whole road. It's just a condition. We're going to do it one way.
That's true.
That's all we've ever asked for. Okay? And why, thank you, why, I've been told that this man, by one of his employees, said he will never pave that road. And now it's in his hands. This is what we were told. I'm not going to say who said this to us, but it was just said, it was said to my wife about 3 weeks ago. And now, and this is why my hand went up quickly, why is, he does not live in our neighborhood.
Neither do we.
There was, I know you don't. There was and I called you, Tony, Mike Durante. I called you one morning. I was one of the 5 people who was so frustrated. My car just came out of the garage after 2 months. I was supposed to bring it in for repair. I have a bad rear rim on my car. Go figure, right? And I couldn't bring it out because the car it's a low rider and it drags on the floor when it's like that. And it's like that quite often, not just in the winter. It happens every time there's a thaw, every time there's a heavy rain. It's been like that for years since I lived there. And it wasn't that bad when we first moved there. And then the whole neighborhood filled up, right? And you had buses and you had parents who drive their kids back and forth to school, okay? And I watch buses. I'm behind them. I leave at 7 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. I watch buses go like this all morning long. I don't care what anybody says, okay? It's ludicrous that kids have to be on the bus like that. That's to begin with. But why is somebody like that making the decision on our road? It's our road. We live there. We're the people that have to drive on this road every day. I don't understand. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not sure what you should do. But I think it's got to be a different decision maker. It's got to be somebody, it's got to be us. We're the people who pay the taxes there, and I got to assume that we pay some of the highest taxes in the town of Southeast. Okay? So we're not asking for anything. We're asking for one way to get out of our neighborhood. And to be honest with you, and my wife doesn't want me to say this, I know that there was a deal made behind us on Peter Road. I don't want to go through there. I can understand that. Besides, I don't want to go down that hill in the winter. It's treacherous, okay? And you guys do a good job paving, plowing it, I'm sure. But you know, every day, every week, there's these rocks now. There are rocks down like this, the size of my hand, okay? Years ago, I was going to bring a case of rocks to the town supervisor, Mike Wrights. I called him. He was laughing at me. I said, why are you laughing? Because I have a whole box full of big rocks on the road that somebody else brought me, a doctor that's off your road. I said, why do they put these rocks down? Every week they put these rocks down, they go to the side of the road, then we pay for them to put it down again and pave it. I mean, I don't get it. It's not doing anything. Okay? Yes, they've improved the road a little bit. It's a little harder. So now instead of mud and trenches, we have potholes in the thing, right? I mean, we all drive over them. It's you know, you came up last month, we all came here, you said, it's not a discussion, we're not paving the whole road, we're gonna pave it one way.
That's true.
Right? So we all left here thinking, okay, this is great. They get what they want, we get what we want. Pavement, right? That's all we want.
And that's,
Where does this man live? That's the Department of Highways.
You have to understand, one thing, you know, I personally get constantly beat up by the public for anything that happens. No, let me finish, if I could.
I'm going to. I understand that.
I'm the supervisor. And every time I get a call about something to do with the highway department, whether it's plowing, not cutting trees, not paving a road, they call me. And I tell them, and the members of this town board, we are all separately elected officials. Now, Michelle, she's separately elected. I cannot go into her department, into her office, and dictate to her. Because if I could, Ms. Finizzi may not get all the information she's requesting, okay? But we don't do that. That's her choice. This town board, we're all separately elected officials to do certain work. And the highway superintendent is the same. If he needs additional monies, he will have to come to this town board and request those funds.
But you know, it's funny because the last two times, the first time we met in the town hall in town, it wasn't the same supervisor town of departments there. But I said to him, I said, how much does it cost per year to maintain that road? Never got an answer. I don't think we ever got an answer. The next time I asked the same thing. Listen, I'm a business owner. I own a small business. I understand, okay? I don't want to spend everybody's money. I get all that, right? I watch every nickel and dime. But if you put together what we spend every year, I got to assume that over 10 years, it's going to pay for itself. It has to. And to me, the best thing to do is pay the whole thing. But you know what? I don't care. If you want to compromise, let's compromise. Give us one way out. I don't believe in going to Carmel and I'm disrupting that. I was pissed off at that because why should you disrupt all these people? I got to come down and here's this guy's driveway. He's had a dead end all these years. Not a good solution. I got to go to Peter Road. Not a good solution. It was a deal the builder made. We're not going to ever do that. It's going to be emergency access road. Leave it that way. We have one road down there. That's the way we come in and come out. We deserve to have blacktop, one way. And it should be our decision, nobody else's decision. We should have a vote on it, come up with an idea, come up with a solution. That's all we ask. That's all we ask. What more can we ask? You know what's bad? I live in a beautiful house. Beautiful house. Every morning I leave the house, I'm disgusted. I can have the best day of my life and I come home and guess what? Before I get to see my family, I'm disgusted again. Are you disgusted when you get home? Okay? And all these people, I mean, Roger Gross was here, and the second time he said, I got this petition, 800 names. While we were all doing all thing up here, he was flipping through it. I watched him. And he said, you know, this is useless. 80% of the names on this petition don't even live here. They don't have to deal with the road. I don't want to hear from somebody who doesn't deal with that road every day. I don't care if somebody thinks it's good or bad.
Okay, let me ask you, put the town attorney on the spot for a second, because I don't believe it can happen, and I wish it could, because
I
I
do, well.
had a similar problem when I was dealing with Springhouse. I looked at it that those people should have the opportunity to choose certain things, like, what was the one thing they wanted? No, they wanted something in particular. I guess it was the credit cards. And I thought it was fair if the majority of the people didn't want to, pay by credit card, and they choose not to have that option, but I was told that can't be done. So, Will, is there any way that the people, now, the fair part is, you say Maple Road. Now, do you want just to address it on Maple Road, or the people in Crosby? I don't believe there's a way to do a public referendum for that portion.
But people come up here and say, it's a park.
No.
There's stuff like that. But let me just say something. The other day, I was going down the road, right? And where the hill goes, to the right, you come up and up, you can't see. No matter which way you're coming or going, you can't see. People are walking there. I had to move over to my left and go over that hill. Somebody could have came head on at me. I mean, you shouldn't even be walking on that road. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. And believe me, I like to walk on it. I used to walk my dog when he was alive on it all the time. It's dangerous. You move over, you can't see somebody. And I don't care. You don't have to speed. You come around a turn and another car comes over, you go to the edge where all the rocks go to, you can go 20 miles an hour. You hit your brakes, you start fishtailing.
You're asking for, basically this evening, for a public referendum. I'm not sure if it can be done, so the question to the town attorney, is there any way a public referendum could be done so the people that live in that area can vote on this?
It wouldn't be a binding referendum. There's no, the laws of the state of New York don't provide for initiative and referendum. So it's, the only time there would be a vote is if there was a determination by the town to bond the construction costs. And then conceivably there could be a vote on the bond. But as to whether or not
That would be the whole
whether or not
town,
you're going to pave it is really not a.
Well, okay, let's go to the bond aspect, because maybe for the bond, could you limit the number of people that were to vote on that bond, or is it the entire town?
It's the entire town.
because it's
See?
the town's
You're not-
money.
you-
The one
Sorry,
other
Warren.
thing that I think is important to note is that Maple Road is a designated scenic road, and I don't have the law with me, but I believe it specifically states that it is the highway superintendent who has the right, he is the one who has the right to pave, not pave, to change that road in any way, to put up guardrails. That's where, that's the position that makes the determination.
It's not limit, and it's also not limited to that. What I said earlier, being a separate elected official, that's where the true power lies.
I'd also
Now-
like to say, one other thing is, I'm liaison to Highway, and I've spoken to Michael Bruin. He has never indicated to me, I don't know who you heard from, but he has never indicated one way or the other what he's going to do with that road. He hasn't.
Why hasn't he done it then?
So that means
just
if
telling
I
you.
run for the Department of Highway, when his term is up,
This year,
then it will be my decision, right?
yes, it would be.
Is that what
It
you're
would be
saying?
your decision within the
No.
funding limits of the town.
I mean, he's not even here.
No,
which
no,
is
not-
amazes me.
there's no-
But you know, the other thing is too, and I think it should be a decision, I don't know law, and I don't want to know law. I don't like politics. I don't get involved in it. This is the third time I've come to sessions, only because I'm trying to do what my neighbors want. You have to look at the economics. I know how often they're down there. You can't tell me that even by paving half of that road, that we're gonna save the town tax money. I mean,
The numbers I read, to answer your question, was around $22,000, and this was old numbers. That's not current
a
numbers.
year,
A year.
that's impossible. That includes labor of the guys down there?
Yes.
You're talking about a dump truck dumping how many loads of rocks, 2 or 3?
Whatever.
They spread it out, the spreader, the paver, the roller, and they do that once a week.
No, overall, you asked for a year.
Yeah.
That's what the estimate was that I saw, that was 22. And believe it
And
or
we
not.
can see those records? Can we all see those
Well,
records?
I can provide it to you, but the bottom
Okay.
line is, these are old numbers.
Right.
Okay, they're not, and that's something he has to do, because this is something new that came forward.
Yeah.
He is reviewing the items, okay, he's working with the town engineer on it. He came up with these numbers for tonight's meeting at my request, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he's researching it, he's gonna go back to the DEP, check on all these, and once he has all that information, that he's gonna provide us with what's gonna happen. And that's why I'm saying this evening, that we will notify you as this moves along. I don't want you to come back week after week after week and not tell you anything. I have a number tonight, which is new, okay, which I was unaware of, the board's unaware of until, like, yesterday was finally done. And the history of it, it's like probably the two reams was this thick of it. All the petitions, everyone signed a petition. I read it, you know, I didn't read them all, but I mean, you can see all the petitions. It's lengthy. He's reviewed them. He has not said yay or nay, and I'm not going to speak for him, and I didn't want him to come here tonight because he's not going to tell you any more than I can tell you. He should be, you know, I mean, people don't start emailing him and bugging him, but you could if you want, but it's, you know, he has to reach a decision. He's going to make it based on finances and whatever, and he will issue a report as to his decision-making process and why or why not it would get done. But the only, I can guarantee you, the only thing the gentleman's looking at basically our request, is only the portion from Enoch Crosby toward Checkpool.
Which is, I think is fine with everybody.
That's all he's-
It's a
that's
good
all-
compromise, and that's why when you said it to us last month, you know, it's not that we thought, I don't know, in my mind, I didn't think it was a done deal, but I just thought it was a good compromise
And
for
that-
everybody
and it
who
has
was
not
looking
changed.
for, to see, you know, it's a scenic road. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure why
It's
we
very
have it.
pretty compared to most
Yeah, but you know
roads.
what, the whole, you know, you look at it, the whole road that surrounds that little piece of the reservoir, 2/3 of it is paved, has been paved. Look at it. Where's it running off to? I mean, that was the argument the last two times. It just doesn't make any sense to any of us. And I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of people in this road. And, you know, forget about the safety, forget about the speed. People speed no matter where they go. It doesn't matter. You know, I go 20 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. The other day, I went down that road. I was doing 15 miles an hour. A guy passed me on the left because I was going too slow. Well, I'm sorry. You know? So, you know, you can't go by that. The thing is, you know, we want a road to get out on. We don't want, you know, we're sick of the cars being dirty. We're sick of the tires we have to pay for because of the flats. And we're sick of those roads. I mean, go there today. Just take a ride. You walk on that road all the time. There are rocks the size of my hand and bigger. I mean, it's a beautiful scene. I just wish I could look up and see it in the morning and watch the sun come over the ridge. I can't. I got to avoid rocks. And then when I come home, I have to avoid people and cars coming at me. I mean, we shouldn't have to do this. We shouldn't have to do this. Probably half of you in this room, if not 80% of you in this room, don't do what we have to do every day, every morning and every night when we come home. And not to mention the parents that have to drive their kids back and forth. Listen, my kids are all grown. They don't live in the house anymore. My wife used to go back and forth, I don't know how many times a day, going to the school, on that road, in the ruts, swaying, getting knocked. I mean, it's, you know, you've heard all this, right?
Yes, we have.
You know, something has to be done. Something just has to be done. And I don't know, you know, so we'll listen to his decision. And then after that, as a group, I think everybody, if it turns out to be a no decision, then we all have to get together and figure out what we have to do to get that road paved.
So again, if you have an email address, please just send it to the town clerk. I know a few of the people out in the audience, I can notify them. If they have neighbors, they can notify as well. It's going to take a minimum probably of 2 months because he has to do a lot of research and it's all going to depend on whatever comes back from the New York City DEP. We have something, I don't recall if it was exactly approved or they gave a preliminary approval to something. That has to be researched and finalized if it were to happen. And no guarantee that if they say it, it's up to the highway superintendent. And it's not going to just be on his shoulders because the bottom line, if he needs the money, he's going to have to come to us. Okay? Anyone else? And when you have a chance, we have to come up to the mic. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi, Tony. My name is Jeffrey Tepper. I live at 91 Enoch Crosby Road. My wife sent you an email, did send the town board an email recently. I just want you to know, I bought my house and paid a lot of money, a lot more than I wanted to pay, because I get to drive on a dirt road. My wife's email to you said she would drive our kids back and forth. I just came from lacrosse practice. I coach football for the town of Southeast too. We're up and down that road the whole time. We've never felt unsafe on it. But the one thing last time I was here, I did say I wanted to bring something back to you along the lines of the potential of preserving permanently the other section of road that we're not talking about paving. And being a school teacher, I have my props.
Do you know I have a competition here tonight? You know Ms. Venezia used to be a school teacher? And she comes here almost every meeting and lectures us, so I hope you're not doing the same.
No, not at all.
Thank you.
Not at all. I'm a guidance counselor, so it's
Can you give, when you're done, would you give some guidance?
it's resolution. And I hope no one's going to cry because I've already had 2 crying kids in my office today. Basically, when we're looking at the road, 3 things that can happen based on what we've talked about. Right now, the road is unpaved, as it is right now. There's a group of people that want it paved. There's a group of people that don't want it paved. Well, if we leave the road unpaved, well, there's going to be the people who want it paved have a negative. They're going to encounter a negative. People who want it unpaved, well, they experience a win. So there's a lose-win there. And the one thing politicians love to come up with is a win-win. If the road is then paved going down to Shex, well, the people who want it paved experience a win. People who don't want it paved experience a loss. So now you have a win-loss. You went from a loss-win to a win-loss. If that section ends up being paved, which I personally would prefer the road to stay unpaved, I love the character of it. That's why I bought my house. That's what brought me to spend this much money and live my life in Southeast and in Brewster. If that section of road is paved, as we said before, the people who want it paved, they experience a win. The people who don't want it paved experience a loss. If the other section of road is permanently preserved, well, these people now experience a win. And you have a win-win situation. And I think the one thing everyone in this room would go along with is no one wants to be back here 5 years from now, having another battle, having another. And my neighbors and I, we were joking. Dave Salva just came up to me at a track meet, and we're joking around with each other. We're dealing with it as friends and neighbors should, but everyone's very passionate about their position. I don't want to be back here in 5 years from now and arguing about, well, what about the other section? And what I feel needs to happen, the only way to truly preserve that road is to have an easement granted, giving away the paving rights. And if we have to go through New York City to do that, we're going to New York City to ask them to pave it potentially. Let's ask them to preserve the other side.
Let me ask you a question as town attorney. Is that at all possible? Because I know if we pass a resolution stating that with this board is not going to ever pave that portion of it, the next town board can just override that resolution. So let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Could that be done?
I think what he's suggesting is since the road bed is owned by the city of New York, that they impose some sort of a permanent restriction prohibiting paving of a section of it.
Is that what you like?
I mean, either if there's a permanent restriction, that's fine. Generally, the way those things are done is an easement is granted. If the town owned that road, the town would give away their paving rights.
Town doesn't own the road.
We don't, the
You know
road,
what I'm saying? If the town did, you'd give away your paving rights. If I own 3-4 acres of land, I could give away my ability to build on that land any more than what's built there. It's given away to a group like the Nature Conservancy or the Concerned Residents of Southeast. You know, and obviously with New York City owning it, it becomes a more of a complicated factor. But I think you basically look at, and what I'm here for is to ask the town to look into that with the city of New York. What about the potential of preserving the other part of the road, which is probably even a little bit more scenic? I think that ends up giving everyone a win if the other side does end up being
I can
paved.
almost tell you by the length of road that's unpaved going the opposite way toward the hospital, I don't think we could ever afford to do it, ever.
I get it, but here's the deal.
What you're asking for, I think, is
Yeah.
reasonable enough, and I would not have a problem supporting that.
Right, because you know what? You guys are doing a great job with this, unlike some of the other groups that were here. But you guys are going to be on to bigger and better things, and there's going to be different people sitting in this seat, and 15 years from now, potentially, we're all back here again. So, as what I do on a daily basis, the resolution piece, if we're looking at paving a part of the road, we should look at preserving the other part.
As part of a compromise, I'll begin researching it tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
thanks, Jeff.
I'm going to leave this here for you guys, because
Can you give that to Ms. Venezia? She might use it next time. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Don Cuomo, 161 Maple Road. I have a letter from my wife. We've lived on the road for 18 years. We too moved to Southeast specifically because of the road. Anyway, let me start with this. This is from my wife. Dear Supervisor, hey, I'm writing on this Earth Day to ask that you not pave scenic Maple Road. I agree with all the previous points made by the numerous people who have spoken out against paving. Safety, cost, the environment, and quality of life are all at risk should you proceed with paving. I ask that the town board think innovatively on this very important topic. Perhaps Southeast can be a pioneer in trying new alternatives to paving that will unite both sides and please all. Let us lead the way in helping all towns preserve valued areas, such as Maple Road, that set an example for the future. Think of what an asset it would be to the town. I would also like to point out that as far as I know, every single resident on Maple Road still does not want the road paved. The people who will most be impacted remain united in their wish. In this time of complexity and multiple opinions, I find that truly remarkable. Thank you, Angela Cuomo. I was going to get in trouble if I didn't read that letter, so I was happy to hear Mr. Durante, what I felt was a little bit of honesty here, because personally, when I hear about safety, I just don't really see safety being a factor. Trying to look as objectively as I can at what went on Maple Road this year. In the 18 years I've been here, I've never seen the road look worse. It really looked horrible. It looked very bad. And I felt bad. I did. However, that being said, the people who feel they have no out, they have no place to go, no route to get out of their homes. I got the feeling from Mr. Durante that he felt that those people should trump all other people in the town of Southeast. That their opinion should that should be it. That should decide, because they have to use that road. And what I say to that is, if you're gonna apply, who should have the most weight in this, you're on that road, and then you're off that road, and you're up in your neighborhood and gone. The people who are on that road can't leave the road. It's our road, and we live on it. And whatever happens to that road, and to me, a compromise, it's no compromise. I'm on that road constantly, and I see the traffic. I get a feel, and I'm sure Mr. Ballantyne, maybe some of his statistics can show this as well. There's many, many people who go on that road who are not going to Enoch Crosby. They're cutting through now. Many, many cars on the road they're not living on the road, and they're not going to Enoch Crosby. They're cutting through. And that's now, with the road in bad shape. Pave the north end of the road, and it will become a raceway. It is that much closer, that much faster that someone can go to get from point A to point B. That being said, I do feel bad. I feel like there should be something done. And I empathize with those people who do not have a way to get out. I don't think paving Maple Road, the north end of Maple Road, is the answer. And I feel bad as well. Mr. Durante's comment about he comes home from a day of work and he's miserable when he gets to the road. I come home from a day of work when I'm miserable, and that road makes me smile. As soon as I get on that road, everything slows down for me, including my car. So and I don't mean to point fingers, and it's my interpretation. I would like to see an alternative. I'd like to see the north end of Maple Road be maintained in a different way, and/or finding an alternate route in and out for those residents of Enid Crosby who don't have an alternative. But I do not think that paving, standard asphalt paving on the north end of Maple Road, it's the end of Maple. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kathy McBride. I live in Brewster Heights, and I would just like to know who is above the highway supervisor?
You.
Me.
The
Well,
elected-
I call there. He has a secretary that answers the phone and takes a message, and that's it. Never calls back, never does nothing. And I don't know if anybody here lives in Brewster Heights, but the roads are terrible. They knocked down a bunch of mailboxes. These people don't even know, who to contact about the mailboxes. The roads are a disgrace. And apparently, he doesn't care. He can't even call me back. I don't understand. What's the problem? How much money is he making? Doesn't he have a cell phone? He's got a secretary that takes a message. He's going to call me back. Nothing. What am I? Nothing? I pay taxes. And this guy doesn't even call you back.
He's going to call you tomorrow.
Well, I guess so. But so what does that mean, Tony? You're in charge of him?
No, I'm
Are
not
you
in
going
charge
to
of
call him and tell him?
I will ask him to give you a call tomorrow.
Why he isn't making phone calls back to people that call him? Maybe you should take his phone away. Or give him a cell phone and he can answer it. I mean, this is ridiculous. And Brewster Heights this year is the worst year. I know people that, at least 10 mailboxes that were knocked down. My driveway is all ripped up. They came down Tanager Road and took the whole curb out of a guy's house on a corner end. I mean, these people should be drug tested if they're gonna drive like that. They are drug tested. Well, I really don't believe that. Then they don't know what they're driving. They don't have a license for it.
Okay.
In fairness, ma'am, it was a really tough winter this year.
Yeah, I know, but you know
And
what? We've
these
had
guys
tough
are
winters
up
before.
sometimes 24 hours a day.
1995, 96 was a tough winter. And they did the same thing, and I called. My mother was going for cancer treatments, and they apologized because they blocked in the driveway, and they made sure they had someone shovel it so that she could get in every day. But I guess times have changed. It's not about me or anybody else anymore that pays taxes. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He should at least call me back.
He should. He will tomorrow.
Yes. My name is Mr. Otto. We live at 117 Enoch Crosby Road, myself, my wife, and 2 other kids. 2 kids. Before me here is people who live in Enoch Crosby who wants the road paved and who don't want it paved. It's right here, so we can have this in the docket.
Yes.
So whenever you're ready. We had a few compromises. The last time we were here, we said, okay, we're going to have a compromise. Now we're backtracking. Where is the supervisor? The person who is supposed to make the decision on how we live? He's not even here. It's really, really disgusting. To me, it's an embarrassment. The person who says he's going to get the road paved or not paved is not here to represent, for us to ask him a question, to say something about it.
Sir, when it comes to that point in time, that gentleman will be here with that report.
Yeah, but we were here the last time. You said, okay, we're making a compromise. But it's a safety of everybody, the kids going to school, the buses. Who's going to be liable if anything happens on the road? I lost a truck. My son is trying to avoid hitting the deer. I lost a truck. I spend money on fixing our cars. Who's paying us back? Okay, we don't need it back. We need a compromise. You came here, I felt good. We had a compromise. We say, okay, we're going to do that road. Now we're back here again, and then presumably we're going to come back here another month. Another month, another 2 months, back and forth like yo-yos. This is an up and down game. One is saying, yeah, or we compromise, or there was a bad winter, One's talking about Earth, what else? We back and forth, and yeah, you sympathize with it, but yet, that same road, whoever lives on Maple Road is not affected by it. Because they can make a right and go on the asphalt road. They're not affected at all by Maple Road. They have an option to make a right and go away. We don't. Like the young man was just saying, we don't have an option. We come here, we plead, I've been in the union for 30 years, and I've never seen no stupid thing like this yet. I've been a bricklayer and a foreman in the city, and I've never seen no condition where they pave the road and not even to level the road. They used to level the road, now they don't. That road's gonna sink, sink, and sink. It's gonna continue. All what you guys have to do is to pave, like you said, but who's gonna be responsible if something happens on the other side of the road? Who's gonna be responsible? Something may happen, who's gonna be responsible? Who feels it, knows it? Who lives it, will do it? And for me to represent my kids and my family, I will stand up here every time and say what I have to say, because the road has to be paved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Michael Cunningham. I live on Ailish Lane, and I've lived either on Ailish Lane or Enoch Crosby Road for, I forget exactly how long, but I think it's about 20 years when the development on Enoch Crosby was first opened. And I just have to say, my position is I support keeping the road as is, as a dirt road, both sections. I've been driving on this road for 20 years, and yes, it's an inconvenience at times, but that's just something that, the recommended driving on that road is, at least it's only posted on one side, it should be posted on both, is 20 miles an hour. There is a sign, on the south end that indicates that, but not on the north end. It's a little inexplicable, but it should be both. But I've never had, my wife, my kids who have driven on that road. We have never had an issue with any damage to our car. The thing is, you have to drive at a reasonable pace to the conditions of it, and I think that's really the main thing. I don't see safety as an issue. You drive at it's a half mile. And you drive accordingly. And I've had 20 years of driving on that road. Yes, it can be an inconvenience. Yes, I can get dirt and mud on my car. But that, I knew that going in. Caveat emptor, buyer beware. You live on a dirt road, that's the condition it's going to be. It's, you have a winter thaw, that's what's going to happen. You do any research, you'll see that. That's a common element of any dirt road. And, people have been moving in and out of that neighborhood, into 20 years. And I think most people who are moving in are drawn to that. And, that's just, one perspective. The other is, there's a lot of hyperbole that's used in describing the conditions. And yeah, it's an inconvenience, but, it's not a disaster. And it's, yes, it's an inconvenience, and it is difficult for in this particular year, longer than most years. But I've never scraped the bottom of my car, and I have a low-riding sports car myself, and I just drive carefully, and I try to manage the ruts as best I can. The other thing I want to say is that it is a road. That doesn't mean it's for cars only. Cars are, roads are shared by pedestrians, by people walking their dogs, by people running, hiking, the occasional horse. I've only seen one or two over the years of driving, but it's not a road just for drivers. So, and if you have a blind curve, well, then you go real slow until you're sure that there's no one coming in the other lane. And if there's a pedestrian in front of you, you just have to wait for that pedestrian to move on so that you can see what's on the other side of that blind curve or hill. It's your responsibility. You know what the conditions are. You know who uses the road. And I think that's just something we all have to pay attention to. That's your liability. You're driving on that road when you know what the conditions are, and you have to drive accordingly. So that's my comments. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone else on this subject matter? Again, if you email the town,
I did want to say one thing.
Go ahead. Can we limit you?
You can really limit me. This is really fast. Just because we talked a lot about safety, I decided to foil the Putnam County Sheriff's Department for accidents on Maple in the last 5 years. I received back that there was only one accident reported on Maple, and it happened on January 24th, 2013. It was a single car accident with an injury, non-fatal. As discussed, I was told Maple Road is a non-threat. I did ask about the location because I know that's important to people. but they didn't have the location, but they said that the accident was due to driver error, not road condition. The driver was ticketed with failure to yield. So just so we know, that's what I've found out as far as safety goes right now.
Thank you. So again, town clerk, you can email her with your email address. If not, when the decision is about to be made, you will be notified. Thank you. Next part of the work session will be water lines outside the village. Mrs. Schoening? Mayor, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I apologize for my cold.
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
You received the letter on the request of the village to form an outside water district. As of current, we have about $195,000 that's owed to the village from town residents and town businesses. We have no way of collecting that money right now without taking them to court. The only alternative that we have is that we have to send out contracts for all outside water users to use. And if people don't pay the bills, we're just going to have to shut their water off.
Will the Department of Health allow you to do that?
Well, you know what? I'm willing to take that because I've seen other municipalities. Detroit shuts people off after 30 days not paying their water bill. So I'll fight that battle because I'm $195,000 in the hole now. I've got $40,000 this year in outside water expenses for pipes that we've replaced.
How much did you say?
$40,000. These are the pipes that you have out there now. All right? This is off of Hillside Terrace. These things aren't going to get any better. This is going to constantly happen. And what's going to happen is the village can't afford to do this anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to look then to put fees, a repair fee on all outside users. And if I got $40,000 this year, I'm going to plan on $40,000 next year. So unless we can come to some compromise where you can do a district and you can bond this out and pay it over 30 years, I'm looking to put $80,000 into outside water users on the town residents. I can't afford this. The village can't afford it, and the village shouldn't have to pay for it. By you forming the outside districts, you have the ability to collect the money, you have the ability to put liens on the property, send it over to the county, and get paid. That's the easiest solution to happen.
Okay. I researched this a bunch, like I told you I would, and you've been very patient. We've had many things come before the board. One thing that troubles me is this water district outside the village, not district, this water lines outside the village, took place back in 1953. Do you have any kind of a record indicating why the village chose to go outside the boundaries and allow this to happen?
No. I have nothing.
Because the unfair thing to the residents that are outside the village, which you have Hillside Terrace basically, Allview Avenue, north, I guess, is it north or south? East, west, I don't know. As you go up the hill?
Right.
Okay. From there, what's that first road? Last road?
You've got Allview.
No, Meadow Lane.
Meadow.
So from Meadow Lane up, okay, to, help me with the road.
Carroll Court.
Carroll Court, and then across the street, all the way down, and then across the village is the bridge by where Honda dealership is, all the way to, I guess, the car wash and Q-tip.
Right.
Across the street to Italian American, up past the old Scortinos, that area there, that's all outside. So what the problem with those individuals, there's no way, if they wanted to, I mean, this happened back in 1953. I didn't get here till 57, but it was pretty sparse, but that part of the area, they can't drill wells now, so they're kind of locked into the mercy of someone other than that. So if I knew, it doesn't make, you say it doesn't make a difference now, and it probably doesn't, but the village back then decided to expand outside of their boundaries, and this wasn't taken into consideration all these years. And now our board, lucky us, get to deal with it. Another
Well,
water
you
district.
know, I look at it as a problem that I've inherited too. And I don't know if it was asked at that point that these residents wanted the water and the village extended the lines out. That's why the Peaceable Hill District was formed. Because I think it was Larry Jewell was getting ready to shut them off.
And why didn't they create them all then? Why did,
You're talking, you're preaching to the choir. All right, this is something that I inherited, and all these years, everybody just turned a blind eye to it. Well, it's gotten to the point where we can't afford it. It's ridiculous. And I showed you the condition of the pipes. Those pipes are only going to get worse as the years go on.
Jim, to get paid back this $195,000, what are the chances if you do go to court of collecting this kind of money?
Well, we've gone to court on a couple of cases. One, I'm sure you're all aware of. I'm not going to mention the name.
it's not me though.
No, it's not you. They bailed out. They left their house, and now we become online with the rest of the creditors, whether we're going to get paid or not. We had another family that went. We took them to court. We won the decision. They agreed to make payments, and now their house is in foreclosure. So again, we're on the bottom of the line. And that's where I'm at the point now. You know what? I'm willing to fight the Department of Health because at least I have a fight. This is ridiculous. People on the outside know that they don't have to pay this bill and nothing's going to happen.
You think that's a real rationale behind it?
Absolutely. What if you get a bill? Why wouldn't you pay it intentionally? Just not pay it. And it's not everybody. Yeah, I showed you the list. It's about 20, 25 properties just refuse to pay their water bill.
Now, you know, if we were to do something, that past $195,000 can't be put into the new district.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the questions I want to ask this evening, if the town will work with you, okay, we'll try to consider some option. Now, one of the arguments I've always debated basically is those that are outside the village pay a higher premium. Do you know tell me what a village resident pays currently?
Well, the
per
village
gallon.
is set in different tiers.
Okay.
The outside users are paying a flat rate.
Can you tell me the difference between?
Well, in my case, sometimes it's even, depending on what you're paying. You know, it could go from 2.5 cents a gallon. I think Peaceable Hill's would charge 2.5 cents a gallon. My rate goes up according to what I use.
And how would you do it? Is there any, because right now, when individuals in the districts outside of the village pay their bill, they're paying to repair the water lines they feel to their home, which I would say would be the same.
No, they're not. They're paying for water that we're providing for them.
But that money if you're charging, say, let's use 2 cents a gallon to a village resident, and you charge 2.5 cents to a non-resident, okay? The 2 cents that the person in the village pays, if the line breaks, that goes to offset the cost of repairing the pipe, does it not?
There's part of it is in there, yes.
Okay, so the person outside the village that pays 2.5 cents, some of that fee that the other 2 cents in the village, they're paying to repair their pipe.
No,
How do you say no?
because we're charging you for 2.5 cents per gallon. You're
Yeah,
not
but-
paying for
No,
you're-
in Peaceable Hill, for example.
In order, in order to get a repair done in the village, it's gonna cost you to fix that pipe. In order for those people to get the water to go from that break to their homes is there, okay? So they feel that they're paying to have those pipes repaired.
I know what they feel, but that's not the case.
How could you say this? It has to be.
It's not.
If you, say you didn't fix it then,
If I didn't fix it, then we'd have a leak wherever the leak is.
so when you fix it, everyone pays for it in the district.
And what I have to do is I can't even use my own men. I have to subcontract that out.
Not to them now, I'm talking inside the village.
Inside the village has all new lines.
Why,
Ours broke this year.
I'm not even going to get into that.
I know you weren't the mayor then, but why, when they replaced the water system in the village, they didn't go out?
It was done before me.
Yeah.
And that would have been the smart thing
I
to
mean,
do.
I just don't understand why they wouldn't
The
have
smart
replaced the
thing
whole
to
system.
would have been when we were doing it,
Right.
to extend those lines, charge the people outside the town, outside the village, the rate, whatever that rate was going to be to fix those and be done with it. But they stopped, and it was a mistake.
Well,
And now,
fundamentally, we have the same, I mean, we have to deal with the fact pattern that we have. You know, what happened years past, et cetera.
You have to move on, and that's,
Regardless.
these pipes are 40, 50 years old now.
If we consider this, would the village be willing to look at the rates they're being charged to help offset some of that cost?
To the rates that we're being
In
charged
other words,
now.
let's say you're charging 2.5 cents, would you, again, you don't agree with me, but if a pipe breaks in the village of Brewster and it gets fixed,
We offered lower rates, and you know what your people did? They decided to dig their own wells. We offered Peaceable Hill 2 cents a gallon to stay.
that was their
and they-
choice.
Right.
These people are gonna be given a choice as well. So, are you willing to offer them some type of a break? Because we're gonna have to have a public hearing,
That is not my decision. That would be a decision that has to be made by the board.
okay? So what I'll do.
Would I personally in favor of that? No.
Then what incentive would it be to them to do that, though?
Well, it's because they have to get these pipes repaired. You're comparing, like, why would we charge more? You're getting a service. The service you're being provided, and you're paying for that service. For the water being pumped to your house, you're paying for that.
And if a pipe breaks in the village, not outside the village, the pipe has to be repaired. And some of their monies that they're paying, if it's 2 cents in the village, 2.5 cents out, the 2 cents, let's say 1/10 of a cent goes toward that, 1/10 of their cents goes toward the same repair.
But if you're going to compare it that way, then if I have a tree that falls in my village, do I call the town highway to come and do it because I pay town highway taxes? No.
But you have
You
a
could,
choice.
if you called and you couldn't take care of it, we'd help you. Have you ever tried it?
No.
Try it.
Because there's no services that are provided to us. This is a service that's provided to town residents.
Well,
And I think part of the problem with Peaceable Hill was that, and all these districts is, they aren't on the sewer line, which is fine, and that was how it was always intended. But I think there's still costs, village costs that are rolled into their costs.
For the sewer line?
No, for water. In Peaceable Hill, there were extra costs rolled in, as far as, the police, everything from lights downtown, all of that. It was a third.
You're talking about our water budget?
Yeah.
That,
Yes.
thanks to an organization I won't mention here, reported us to the state comptroller's office, who came in and looked at our budget and said it's fine.
Right.
Everything that we put in there is fine. It's black and white. So I don't know what,
Well, no, I'm just saying, when we're talking about Peaceable Hill, that was part of their decision-making process to dig their wells, was they didn't feel that those charges were fair. And I think what Tony's getting at, too, is if the people outside the village, if they form their own district, and then they're charged differently from the village, that's just not gonna, I would say, and they're gonna have the say, but that's not gonna sit well with them. Because they'll always be paying a higher rate, and yet they'll have their own district and have their own repairs then, and I see that as a problem.
Wouldn't you consider the village providing services the same thing as a utility? It's like saying you don't pay for any of the post-it notes for NYSEG because the village uses post-it notes too. I think you have to consider the village utility that's providing service, which is water. What we use with the money that we cut back for that water.
Well, yes, but I wouldn't like it if NYSEG was charging me a different rate than you. So I think that's the problem. It's not that you don't provide a
Tom,
service.
do me a favor, would you just come up to the mic so everyone can hear you, please?
It's not that you don't provide a service, you clearly do. It's the difference in charges that was, we don't have to rehash history on Peaceable Hill, but I think just that was, I know, talking to folks all the time, that was part of the problem. So, I think that's a harder sell, certainly, for people, who are gonna be charged a lot of money to have their pipes fixed and then receive water at a higher rate than the village. That's a tough sell.
I think that, and that's fundamentally what I'm trying to understand. So in essence, for the 2.5 cents, the people don't get repairs done, but for the 2 cents in the village, they do get the repairs. And on top of it, for the 2.5 cents, they're also going to get charged for repairs, which might increase the 2.5 cents to 3.5 cents. Is that what we're both talking about there, Lynn?
Yes, I think
Right.
that's exactly what we're talking
that's
about.
what I think that's what we're saying. The services that you provide, the village for 2 cents, you provide to these other people for 2.5 cents, but the services aren't comparable, because what you're doing is you're intending on charging the additional repair sums, which don't match what's going on inside the village, and simply because they're outside of the
Well,
village.
because the town right now is the only one that are costing us on repairs.
How does the town costing repairs?
Because I've got $40,000 in outside water users that I've had to repair these pipes.
But if you're charging the 2.5 as opposed to the 2, what portion of the 2.5 can pay for the 40,000 in the pipes?
There's none of that that's going to pay for the pipes.
So how is the 2.5 cents comparable to the 2 cents? If the
It's
service
what,
isn't
it's
the
what
same.
we're selling it to those residents at.
Okay, so basically then what you're saying is, we're selling it, but it doesn't include the repair costs, despite the fact that when we sell it to the village residents, it does include the repair costs.
You could look at it that way.
Right. Okay.
Okay, Jim, I just spoke to the town attorney. Here's what we can possibly do, okay? Yourself, myself, village attorney, town attorney. I know you're usually around on Thursdays, the best time, not the best time for the town attorney because he has court that particular day. But can we work out a schedule? We'll sit at a table and discuss this instead of us doing it here this evening and see what we can do something and bring it back to the board.
Yeah, and we've got to get it done quick because my fiscal year is coming up to an end.
Oh, it's not gonna get done that quick.
Well, I've got, then I'm telling you what's going to.
You have to do what you do, and whether it's,
And just so everybody knows that I've been asking for this for a year now. So it's not that it's village is now looking to shove this down anybody's throat.
well,
It's not. I've been asking for a year for this to be done, if not longer.
well, it's been going on for 62 years, so a year is a very short period of time compared to the 62
Okay.
before.
But I'm telling you that this is what's going to happen, is that when
You
we
do
do
what
with
you
the
have to
fiscal,
do.
we're going to have to do that.
You do what you have to do.
Okay.
So do you want a meeting or no?
Yeah, but I'm just letting you know if it can't be done by May.
I can't see, that's not gonna happen. This is government, this isn't real life.
And when you say it, can you just clarify what it is? It has to be done.
He wants to prepare his budget. What did your budget do by?
The budget's done, but now I have to
So
go
he's
on
gonna
first.
put $40,000 line in there that he's gonna charge to the people outside of that district.
I just wanted to clarify.
Is it 80 or 40? You said you,
It's 40 from this year,
yeah.
and I'm assuming next year it's going to be 40 again.
Okay, so you're putting in your budget an additional 40,000 you're gonna charge to the outside users, which would be Peaceful Hill as well, to fix this.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Okay?
And have your wills, maybe, again, Thursday's the best day for you, not the best day for him, so can we work out the times?
Thursday afternoons, I mean, late in the day.
What time?
I'm usually done by 4 o'clock.
4?
And there's one other thing on, I was reading your.
See,
planning-
now it's gonna be a year and a week.
Your planning board minutes from, I guess, when Chazen was here talking about Peaceable Hill. He has it in there, and it's in the minutes that once we're disconnected from the village, that the connection is going to stay in case there's an emergency.
Okay.
That's not going to happen. If it's disconnected, it's going to be disconnected. We can't take the responsibility for that. And the other thing that he had in there was that we get our water from a reservoir, which we don't. We get it from the aquifer.
Okay.
So I just want to clear that up.
Personally, I'm disappointed to hear that, because if Peaceful Hill goes online, they got tons of water, and you guys ever need it, I'd want to share that water with you. I'm sorry to hear that you have that opinion.
You can't reverse the water back to the village.
Never know,
You couldn't do it. You don't have the piping.
you know. Goes one way, go the other.
All right.
It's all downhill.
So be in contact with Will to set up a time. After 4 o'clock next week will be fine. Try not to do it the night we have a town board meeting though, okay, Jim? Thank you.
Hi, I'm so sorry. The notes for Ida Crosby with all the listing, would I get that?
Oh, I thought you gave us.
I know, it has to be amended, I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay.
There's important stuff on it.
You can have it back.
Is it the petition you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, it's not quite finished. Sorry
Oh,
about that.
okay.
Thank you.
Just cross out, I put received, let me just cross that through.
Sure.
Okay, next item on the discussion, zoning text change for Barrett Hill.
Good evening, Supervisor Hay, members of the town board, Mr. Stevens. My name is Charles Marnabano. I'm an attorney from the office in Somers. I represent the petitioner, Barrett Hill Associates, LLC. We've provided you with a petition, an explanatory letter. I can go into any level of detail or try to minimize it as much as possible as you might want. The purpose of our appearance before you tonight is simply to request that you refer the petition to the planning board pursuant to your code, which is a mandatory requirement when a petition is submitted to you and it doesn't originate with the planning board. But again, we're here to answer any questions you might have and hopefully respond to any concerns.
Well, unfortunately, on April 21st, the town received from our outside consultant, AKRF, about this petition. And I didn't want to cancel the meeting tonight because I knew you had invited some individuals possibly to be in attendance at the meeting.
Okay.
And everything is all set up. And the bottom line, we will share with this to you this evening, but we will send you a copy of the memorandum as of tomorrow. And recommended next steps. It identifies that once the applicant has submitted a complete application, the town board may classify the action as a type 1 action under seeker and circulate it to intent to be lead agency to all the involved and interested agencies. At that time, the town board may also refer the zoning petition to Putnam County Planning per GML number 239M and to the Town of Southeast Planning Board per 138-92 of the town code.
Well, as you pointed out, I haven't seen that before tonight. I'm going to respond off the top of my head, but I may not be 100% accurate. As to the characterization of this necessarily being a type 1 action, I think that threshold refers to an actual rezoning of property as opposed to a text change. Don't hold me to it because I haven't researched the question because I hadn't had a chance to respond from this point in time. Also, when we submitted the application back, I think in April, we did get a follow-up memo from the town about having an application and an escrow amount that we deposited with the town, but there was no mention of filing the EAF, so I'm a little bit surprised by it, but...
Well, you submitted the application, which, we provided. It was a $5,000 for a text change, which is
we did,
whatever.
Right?
At that point in time, and even the application seems to be incomplete because, let me read exactly what they said in this letter. Project description. The applicant proposes an amendment to the Town of Southeast zoning code to permit the conversion of 168 senior units approved in 2006 as Barrett Hill, located on Mount Ebo, Lot 6A, plus or minus 29-acre parcel in the OP2 zoning district to non-age restricted units. As proposed, the zoning petition includes a 25% set aside for the first 6 months of marketing as priority units, e.g. veterans, town employees, etc. Of these 25%, 10% are proposed to be set aside as affordable housing units. As proposed, the zoning text changes would be applicable to all OP2 zoning districts in the town. Comments. The application for the zoning petition is incomplete. The following documents are required to be submitted in order for the town to proceed with a review of this application. 1. Full Environmental Assessment Form, EAF. Since the proposed zoning amendment would affect the permitted land uses in more than 25 acres of the town, it would be considered a type 1 action under seeker per 6 NYCRR, whatever that symbol is, 617.4B, pardon?
It's section.
Section?
Section, yeah.
I don't know why they don't put an S, but what it is.
It's a legal thing.
Okay.
You know how lawyers are.
Yes, I do. That's why I never practiced Latin. Okay. B2, a full EAF is required. As a type 1 action involving multiple agencies, a coordinated review under seeker is required. C6 NYCRR section 617.6B2. As such, part 1 of the full EAF must be submitted before the town board can circulate its intent to be lead agency per 6 NYCRR section 617.6B. 2, amended site plans to the zoning amendment is proposed in conjunction with a specific property and for a specific project. The potential impacts of the whole action must be considered as part of the environmental review under seeker. As such, the applicant must submit an application for an amended site plan which includes a proposed unit mix, any changes to the building footprint, changes to site circulation, and accessory use of amenities. Consideration of the zoning petition independent of the contemplated site plan amendments would be considered segmentation under seeker C, and this one says C, SEE, 6 NRCRR, section 617.3G. Now, when you made first application, it came directly to the town. We did not
Correct.
forward it to our outside consultant because it was a zone text change, which we thought we can handle within house. I was unaware, of course.
Well, I'm not blaming you for the delay, Supervisor. I'm not saying that.
It's
I'd
not
say
a delay, it's-
If I had had that, I would have been able to respond tonight fully. But it's okay, because what we want to do is we want to be able to move this along. I'd like to just correct one thing in her analysis. If the text change is adopted, the 10% of the units that would be affordable would be of the total, the 168. And I can see in reading the text change why she would have come to the conclusion, but part of what we're looking to do, and I think you touched on it when you read that, but it's important for the people here tonight, is that we were, and it's curious that it all worked out to be here tonight, we were motivated to try to create these units to try to benefit certain groups that we thought were worthy of consideration for affordable housing. And we started with a veterans group, so it's very curious that tonight we had a great turnout for veterans because we think that's a group that needs to be served. We also did provide to you some thoughts about other groups that might be given priority in terms of these affordable units. So I'm glad we had a chance just to touch on that because we think it's very important from the point of view of this application. We're trying to give something back to the community in this regard because this is not a governmental project. These are these applicants' projects in order to provide this type of housing. So if what we need to do at this juncture is to complete an EAF, what I'd like to do is get a copy of that as soon as possible.
Right now.
That's even better. I'm going to speak, with your permission, obviously, I'm going to speak with her to, I'll stop speaking, to address the secret issues. But the point is, we will get this to you probably within 10 working days because we want to move this along as soon as possible. Hopefully, when we submit that to you, you'll refer this over to the planning board. We can start the process, and that's what we're looking to do.
Yeah, personally now, when I read the entire thing as well, there's a lot of issues in there that I guess when you make your complete application, would address many of that, okay? The percentages were one of the things as well.
I can try my best to answer some of those questions tonight for you.
Now, you're gonna have to have it in writing. Of course, they're gonna be reviewing, the outside consultant will be reviewing it as well. But when we discussed this during the planning board work session, I believe it was suggested that this list of prospective benefiters, whatever.
People who benefit from.
Okay.
Okay.
Beneficiaries.
Would best.
Who said that?
Another attorney.
Yeah.
Another attorney.
I'm not even practicing, nor do I want to. Anyway, was it the types of benefactors of this belong, beneficiaries belong in the prospectus of the persons who selling the units instead of making the town board make that decision?
We have had those discussions, and one of the things that's in my presentation tonight, which is a little bit truncated now, is that these are our suggestions. These are suggestions because we thought that it would be important for any municipality today to be able to create zoning that does provide for affordable housing, and in the context of where it's appropriate, where you determine that it's people that you'd like to benefit, you benefit people who give to the community. And just for the audience, because I know that they probably don't know unless they've read this, what we're talking about in terms of people, our first group was, of course, veterans in the Hudson Valley. And the reason that we talked about that is there are, I believe, close to 100,000 veterans living in the Hudson Valley area. And we wanted to provide an opportunity for them to get good quality, affordable housing. I was watching Fox News less than a week ago. I was shocked to find out there's a new organization supporting veterans because in addition to veterans who are underserved, there's 50,000 homeless veterans in the United States. What we're trying to do is to provide an environment where they can have good, affordable housing. That's part of what these people are doing, and it's not a governmental program. It's what they want to do. We thought also there might be other people that you might deem appropriate to benefit. So what we suggested, but we always said, and it's in my letter, you don't have to take, you're the zoning authority, so you may not want to put it in. If you don't want to put it in, it's up to you. At the end of the day, you'll decide. What we suggested is full-time employees of the town of Southeast, full-time employees of school districts serving the town of Southeast, unpaid active volunteer members of the town's fire department, Putnam County first responders such as law enforcement, firefighters, and EMS workers. So we just suggested those categories. At the end of the day, you are the person who adopts a text change. If you don't want them in there, There's no way we can force you to have them in there.
Now, as you know, your application also changes 2 other areas within the town. In other words, any OP2 district now is required to adhere to this zoning text change, not just this one, right?
But again, let's go, I mean, that's true, and I think I outlined those areas on the exhibit to the petition. But at the same time, there are limiting factors as to what sites it could be. They have to be accessed by a state, county, or town road and adjacent to a residential district, served by a central sewage treatment plant, central water supply system, and central fire protection system, minimum lot size of 15 acres, and bulk requirements based on the OP2 district as it is, and a different parking standard. So while you're right, it could potentially apply to other properties, they would be limited if you like these suggested limiting factors.
And what I think when you make that application, it'd be very helpful, knowing the parameters you set up, is to find out how many parcels that's going to affect within the town of Southeast.
Absolutely. Everything that you're talking about are things that are normally gone through in the secret process.
But that's part of the overall review, I believe, of a zoning text change. What is it, how is it going to affect everyone? Just asking for a zone text change without identifying, like we use a figure of 80% of 30% of a number. Now, I went online, I came up with a number of like 74, the average income was 92,711. I went to another site, and this is the average income of a resident, which you're going to base your, and also.
A Putnam County resident?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Well, was it Putnam County or Southeast?
No, I believe it was Putnam County.
And I erred on that because I thought it was Southeast.
Let me just check in case I erred. I'll correct myself, but I believe.
But let's use the numbers I looked up briefly. Southeast showed 92,711 in one site, and then another site said it was 84 and change.
Just so that we're clear, what the draft legislation says is 80% of Putnam County household income.
Now, I would ask, when you put this forward again, identify the source, the number. You must know a number.
But I have a gentleman here who probably knows more about it than anyone
We
in the
don't
county.
need it tonight, but when you make the application, I would put that in there. In other words, based on 2014, the average income of Putnam County residents was, so we can figure out. Because I came up, what do you think the average cost per month as affordable housing these units would run about?
I'm now going to turn to someone who might actually be able to answer the question. Mr. Wilder?
Just that question in particular.
He can't.
Well,
he can't answer anymore. Come on.
Well, if we ask a
I
question.
have to answer another question before I answer that question.
Okay.
The first question is that when you get a median income, whether it's 74, 84, whatever it is, that's always based on a family of 4. But what you do is you adjust down from that. So if you have a 1-bedroom apartment with a 1-person household, you don't take, using the numbers you were using, 74, 84. You have to adjust it down. It's usually 10 to 15% down, so it goes, if you go from family of 4 to 3 to 3 to 2 to 2 to 1, it drops down. So if you had, and we were only planning on 1 and 2-bedroom units, but if you had a 3-bedroom unit and you had a family of 4, the number you're asking for would be more applicable. But if you can't apply that then to you can't say, well, that would be the rent for a 1-bedroom apartment. So is that
Well, that's
clear?
another thing missing in the documentation was
No,
provided.
we'll provide all that. But,
Yeah, how many
but
1-bedroom, how many 2-bedroom, how many 3-bedroom, and each of these individuals that will
Correct.
get this benefit, if there's a percentage of them. I mean, I counted about 20 eligible, I won't say groups, because when you say Hudson Valley veterans, now I researched some for tonight's meeting, there's 10 counties in the Hudson Valley. 10 counties. So if there's 100,000, did you say statewide? What was the number?
No, I said I believe close to 100,000 in the Hudson Valley.
In the Hudson Valley. So that's 10 counties that would be eligible to come here and live, 100,000. And the percentages that we have, am I right?
Which percentages are you?
Well, we're going to have 25% of 168 is 42 units.
Correct.
That's correct, John.
Okay.
And those will be the priority units in terms of the initial marketing period of 6 months. Those will be set aside for whatever group of people we decide, that'll be set aside for priority marketing to them. 10% of the overall unit count, or 16 and change, almost
17.
17.
So we got 25 and 17 are the numbers we're using, because I couldn't quite figure it out. 25?
I think it's 40, right?
It's 42. 25 and 17 is 42.
42. Is that the way the breakdown works? Because I couldn't quite
Yes.
figure it out.
Yes, and I can understand. I'm going to tweak that for you.
Yes, identify how that works, because that'd be very
So
helpful.
you'd have 42 total, of which 17 would be an owner-subsidized affordable housing rent, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
Just to throw out some approximate numbers.
Now, with 6 months, this is for 6 months. The question,
The 6 months only applies to the priority marketing.
right? What happens after 6 months?
I'll let the public handle it. And
Yeah,
stuff.
in terms of the marketing, if there are no veterans or people in whatever categories the town board decides, that after 6 months, we're not gonna hold the units vacant forever, we're gonna go rent them to others.
Okay.
So, but with respect to the affordable units, the 17, those are remaining affordable forever.
If you look at the presentation, it says for 99 years, there's a covenant that way.
I
So they
see.
are forever, essentially.
So the owner won't say, oh gee, after 6 months, we couldn't find anybody who wanted to rent these below market, so we're renting them at market.
Now, that's another
So
thing,
we're
this,
not-
what you put in front of us said sale or rent. Are these for sale or rent?
As we represented here, we plan a rental community. I didn't want to limit it, but if you're talking about a text change, I didn't want to limit it, or the applicant didn't want to limit it to only rentals. So if it was a for sale, there's a formula there for the units that would be sold at less than market.
For example, right now, we're doing a 50-unit affordable condominium complex in Larchmont, and those prices have to be based on 80% of area median income. So you take 80% of the area median income for Westchester, which is higher than Putnam County, and the prices for those units. But they're for sale units, but they still are based on an area median income, so they're below a market for sale price. in that
Now, the
case.
previous approval is for age restriction.
Correct.
And when you look up the zoning amendment back at the time when they gave the special permit, it produced 0 students for the schools.
Correct.
This does not identify in any way the number of students that may, I know you don't know, but there's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and we're
Correct.
going from 0 to a number. I think that should be identified somehow as well.
Actually, as you know, that was an item that was discussed in the work session, as you pointed out. It's an item that we said we knew we would have to address, because obviously that's a change from what was approved to what we're proposing. So we've already commissioned a study to that effect. We're going to share it with you. So these are things that we know we have to address. And all of these things, though, are items that are addressed during the secret process. These are the normal things that are. It seems, and when we're asking you to refer it over, it's not as though you're bypassing the secret process. We're not even commenced at that point in time. If the planning board were to turn around, let's say they asked this question and turned around with a negative recommendation of some type, this might not go further. But at this stage of the game, we know we have to go through the secret process. We're going to answer those questions that you're asking then. We just wanted to start with a referral. If you want to wait until we submit the EAF, we'll have it to you right away.
I think it'd be easier on everyone's part for all the questions that may arise from this here prior to us being forwarded.
Another thing that would be wonderful, in addition, like we just got Ashley's letter tonight, and I can respond to that, we'll put the EAF in. Are there any other issues that you'd like some additional clarification on? How the median income works? We can give you that in the next submission, so that when we are hopefully before you in 2 weeks, we can move forward. I'd love to find out, get a list of whatever it is that you'd like to hear about before we do the referral.
I would like to know, with the affordable housing aspect, how that will affect your assessment and what the town will then collect, and the school district, in taxes.
I'm sure Bob can give us an idea of that. Okay. And so, Tony, I'd like to see how the formulas work, give you an example and run through it. We have no problem with that. Your question is another good question. Anyone else?
How does the 10% work? You're trying to, affordable housing, now you're keeping 10% of it, 17 units and whatnot. Now you're subsidizing that, in other words, let's pretend it's 100,000, you're gonna give 10%?
Let's assume it's a
towards-
rent.
towards
yeah,
that,
Let's
or-
assume it's a rental apartment. And let's say a 1-bedroom apartment we believe would rent for, let's say $1,300 or $1,400 a month. And let's say a 2-bedroom we believe would rent for $1,600, $1,800 a month. The math that we've done will bring those rents down by probably about 15%. So if somebody would save $200 a month, round figures, we'll get you when we submit the EAF, but in round figures, we're looking to $200 to $250 a month subsidy for the affordable towns.
And for
they
how long will that last? While they just,
90
forever
for
kind of,
99
as they
years.
continue to live
Just to
there?
put it in
or-
perspective, is you know, we own Stonecrest right next door, which is a federal and state subsidized housing. There, the rent reductions are probably about $500 or $550 a month below. But that's because we get subsidies with tax credits and low interest rate loans from the federal government that require us, and those rents are based on 60% of area median income, so that's why the rents are so much lower. This isn't going to have any state or federal subsidies. This is a developer subsidy for those 10%.
And that's an important thing, because part of the discussions that we did have earlier, this is a market rate that subsidizes, an affordable component. It is not a government-funded project. That's not what this is. Therefore, the developer has latitude to do certain things that could not otherwise be done. That's part of what we're trying to bring to the town as a package.
You just gave the supervisor the report on the school, the number of children that might come into the, based on, if they decided to come live here and whatnot. I've heard a lot of numbers thrown around. I attended the first meeting when this was being talked about. I haven't been to another meeting since. I haven't been invited to another meeting since, for whatever reason. But I kind of heard that maybe it only really brings about 17 children into the school district. Can you talk about what the report says,
It
or
actually
no?
says 29.
Okay. Because I'd like to hear then from the school board, whether or not, is 29 kids going to really have a huge impact, and whether or not, it's a deal breaker.
It was done by Patents for Progress, a not-for-profit. It was done independently of any consideration as how it's going to impact ourselves. That report was submitted to the superintendent of schools in the last day or two. I enclosed a couple of printed copies of that report. It's based on the Rutgers model. It's based on the Cornell model. It is not based on any anecdotal information that we have of other projects in the area. It's only on the published statistics. Based on local information, the statistics show that the 50% one-bedroom, 50% two-bedroom units, which is what's proposed here, would generate 17 children. The study shows 29. It shows the beginning of the absorption 3 years from now. And it shows an absorption over 3 years. The highest year, it adds 10 children to the school district, K through 12, and it shows the distribution through the entire K through 12 and impacts. And I assume you will make a request of the superintendent, or not, we will, that he respond as the adequacy of the school to handle that absorption.
It's, I know the absorption is very important, but the tax ramifications are extremely important because we have such a high cost per student. My question would be,
This stays on the tax rolls.
I know, but in general, from what we heard, the estimate that you were using, the per student estimate that was being used was lower than what the actual cost is, and that was when there were going to be 17 children. My question relates to Bridleside, which is a 65 rental unit, as you know, over in North Salem. That was estimated to have between 8.5 and 21 children in the district. I assume, too, that because I believe Rutgers was used for that, and yet now there are 25 students in the district. So I think we have to be very skeptical because it is the same. I know Patterns for Progress would be a different agency, but it was also based on Rutgers. So this is something we really have to take into consideration.
Patterns has done the former studies for the Brewster Central School District. They're very familiar with it. They've also worked for the last 2 years with the Village of Brewster on the revitalization, and they've been very active.
Mm-hmm.
One of their directors, Graham Trelstad, who you know, serves on Patterns Board. And it was 2 days ago that I stood with him and their chairman, and the statement was made by their chairman to Graham that it was totally independent study, and it was not influenced by anything any of us may have said or provided.
And I understand that, it's just that the study that was done for Bridalside really came in already, and that's only, by the way, 65 rental units, and I know that is affordable housing, which might make a difference, I don't know. But we're talking about 168 units. So it's just something that I'm very leery of, and I'm gonna take the time to read through the study, but I just wanted to make you aware of that that Bridalside already has more children in it than were anticipated. And I don't believe it's more than a year old.
Again, I can't speak to Bridalside, I appreciate you bringing up that, but we expect you to vet what we're going to submit, okay? We want to respond to any concerns you have. We need to prove to you what we're saying. We look forward to it, that's all there is.
Right.
Now, how about when you rent out in the future or sell? I'm still very confused how that's gonna come in front of a board, how you put forward a proposal, and then some of the units may be sold, some may be rented?
No, that's not, no. What I said, Tony, to be clear, Mr. Supervisor, forgive me.
Call me Tony.
Is that I did the zoning text, so someone is not bound by us. If we want to come in and do a rental, we have a formula for the affordable rental for the units in there. If someone comes in and wants to do a sale, we're not doing a mixture. We want to do a rental project. But we wouldn't want this zoning legislation to preclude a for sale project because they're gonna have generally the same impact. So, I could limit it to rental housing, but I didn't think it would be the way to present it from the town's point of view. Again, if you wanna say you wanna limit it to rental units, it's fine.
So if a veteran or one of these priority individuals buys
Not in our project will be rental.
rental only,
Our project is proposed to be rental, am I correct?
so if it goes to sale, the whole building would go for sale in the future?
No.
I'm sorry, don't get it.
We are proposing a rental project, that's what we're proposing, okay? If someone comes in on another piece of property and proves they're bona fides, and they wanna have sale units there,
Wait, another piece of property, meaning one of the other OP zones?
I'm giving it as an example, sure.
Okay, see, that's the difficulty. This one text change will change two other, they're all the same zone. There's three OP2 zones in the town of Southeast.
There's three pieces. One of them I think is too small to have any 15-acre within any portion, even assembling parcels. The other one, I think, might have one project that qualifies. Good.
Do me a favor. Two things. If I can ask Mr. Stevens as counsel. I don't believe that a municipality or a body can discriminate in terms of rental or ownership when it comes to housing. We've done a number of multifamily condominium projects in this town and the county. I've never heard anyone ask in zoning or see in zoning where there's any reference to ownership or rental.
I don't think that's what the supervisor's suggesting, Harold, and you're correct.
Then I apologize
The
if I
town
misunderstood
can't-
that.
If we zone for multifamily, we can't say it's gotta be condominium, you're absolutely correct. And I don't think the supervisor is suggesting that. He's just trying to understand the overall impacts of what it is that you're suggesting, the potentials, and I think what he's pointed out is that there are other OP zones that this text change would affect, and I think we could cut to the chase here. We need to do the environmental review through SECRA, so all these questions can be answered.
Exactly. The only point I was trying to raise is because it could be one or the other in terms of a for sale or rental, we had formulas in affordability for both a sale and a rental. That's all I'm saying. Trying to cover all the bases, that's all.
Now, if there was a sale or a rental, I'm still confused, I'll admit, if it was owned by a person in a priority, if it's a sale, do they have to sell then to the same priority?
I think, yeah,
We, on the issue of priority as well as the individual, if you will, offset or subsidy by the developer, the primary focus of this project that we speak to is veterans. And it was a very moving evening earlier regarding veterans in Purple Heart. There are people in this audience that have stayed, that have served. There's just under 100,000 veterans in the Hudson Valley region. And Carl, think he's still in the back. Is it true 100,000 veterans or just under for the Hudson Valley?
I would guess that's around that.
I don't think it's an issue of finding the people. I wish you had more opportunity to provide housing. We're also looking to providing health care through a not-for-profit agency in the area to assist those veterans. It goes far beyond in programs.
But that would work more if it was all for veterans, like the original proposal when it came in. Like, right now.
The suggestion to alter that proposal
That's why it shouldn't.
came in one of the came
I
in
don't-
one of the work sessions in the Southeast Planning Office. The proposal as stood was for 42 veterans.
Right.
It was recommended by others at the meeting that that group be expanded, which we thought was not unreasonable, to include first responders, okay, and school teachers within your community. That decision to expand the group would ultimately be up to the legislative board yourself.
That's not at all what I recall. What I recall.
There were about 5 meetings, Len.
When I was there, what I recall was, actually, I asked if that 25% could remain just veteran, and I was told, I don't want to say that the figures didn't work, but I was told that it just didn't work, that the numbers didn't work, that we had to add other groups. And I recall that very clearly because I asked that question.
I'm going
I
to
don't-
apologize to yourself and Mr. Armstrong.
Mr. Armstrong
I think there's
remembers
about
it.
5 meetings that we've had, and I can't tell you. I mean, you've had the chairman of the planning board there. You've had your planner, Ashley Lai.
Yep.
Tom Fenton. I know council was at least one meeting, yourself and Supervisor Hay.
Right.
The very first meeting took place at UCP. And that day that I went there, I came late, and I heard 3 children in the school system, and it was all for veterans, 42 units. That was the very first meeting.
That's absolutely correct. Since you mentioned Hudson Valley United Cerebral Palsy, they are the not-for-profit that I refer to that can assist in medical support for veterans.
And that whole thing was the medical support for veterans, that they were just down the road from the location.
That is
But
absolutely
by
correct.
opening it up now to, I figured out a minimum, I think there's about 20 different, there's 10 counties of veterans, okay? That alone, I think, could take up all 42 units. But that's not the case now. It's 10 counties of veterans that are eligible, town of Southeast people, EMS workers, fire, they mention, the various ones. When you say that, the state police, it's the sheriff's department. When you get done, there's 20 various units. When we get done, a veteran may only get two or 3 units out of that, if each one. How are we going to, I don't want to be involved with prioritizing.
You're not.
Well, the text change basically kind of says we are. And I have a disagreement in the way that I think that's worded. I don't want to be involved with identifying who does it. Your perspective, if you want to identify all these people eligible, I don't know if this town board should get involved with that, because there's a lot of other volunteerism of people that say, well, what about me? I mean, you're putting us, I think, in a...
Just recommendations.
No, but
That's what he's
it's-
saying.
it's just a
We don't have to
recommendation.
accept it. We can.
Well, but are we going to do that?
Well, that's,
You know what?
I don't know.
At the end of the day, just as Will has said, as we go through the secret process, and as Harold just said, as it gets back to the legislature, you could turn to us and say, well, we'd like to see it be this group, whatever. At the end of the day, it's a legislative determination. From our perspective, we believe that each of these groups that we outlined here are particularly people who give back to either the country or the town of Southeast or the county specifically. They're all worthy of consideration for these types of affordable units. That's just our thought on it. I'm not sure why anyone would want to limit that group. I don't understand.
Well,
why
but
they
it was all for veterans to
Yeah.
start, and right down the road, UCP was going to provide a very needed service for the veterans. Now that almost disappears, because you might have as little as 2 veterans in there, depending on who applies. We don't know that.
But you may have, because the pool is that large, you may also have 42 veterans or veterans and families residing there, taking the preference, not to mention that it goes beyond to the general population of the remainder of the 168 units.
And again, I think we're getting into issues that.
I apologize. It was Ken Clare, your fire chief, and your commissioner for fire safety that said we really need help for our volunteers in the town of Southeast. They said it to us, Sean Kowalski and Ken Clare. We've heard it again. You have young members that you're losing, that you can't retain. You have the same issues with EMS, and that's a volunteer emergency service.
Well, one of the
So
reasons,
someone said, you ought to consider expanding. It's not that you're going outside the town of Southeast for your first responders, i.e. For fire and EMS. So the numbers are not skewed. The issue in terms of veterans and receiving medical support is still the dominant group. Again, it's up to this board to decide if you were to see fit to go forward with a zone text change as to who it should benefit. But I think there's a dire need for the veteran community.
But to be clear then, if this board felt that veterans was really made the most sense for our town and wanted to go with that, that would be fine then with the applicant?
In a heartbeat.
Okay.
My question, let's say someone's a volunteer fireman, they, want to live there, they quit the fire department for whatever reason. Do they have to move out, or how would that be affected?
No. I don't believe there's any mechanism or any thought of ever asking someone to leave.
I'm just, sometimes people scam things. They may want to join the fire department to get a cheaper rent, and then they say, I don't want to do the fire department thing anymore. I'm just curious if they would have to leave, or...
Lots of detail, I think we'd have to work that out.
Well, that's...
Scam.
Well, or just for whatever reason, somebody, a town employee retires from working for the town. Would they have to leave then?
I don't think we'd have. First, if they weren't getting a subsidized rent, but they were just a priority as opposed to the subsidized, then we just say, great, the next person who comes in must be a priority person. In other words, to get that global number of 42 that were in this group. So if somebody gets outside the group, all of a sudden, the next person in would then get that. So it would only affect the true affordable rent units. It wouldn't affect the priority
Okay,
units.
that's fine.
Can you clarify the next steps? I know, I think we're talking a lot about what's going to be vetted. I appreciate the fact that we're getting or town residents watching here or watching on tape have gotten a clearer overview of what it is. Probably the first time anyone's heard it. I'm just curious as to what the next steps are, if you can outline them briefly. So you, Mr. Martabano, are going to now, or someone is going to revise the petition, or what are you doing in?
What we do now is we will prepare an EAF. I'm going to speak to the planning consultant and coordinate with her as to the actual how the secret regulations will work with respect to this type of application. But we will submit an EAF quickly, and at that point in time, it will come back to your board. At that point, I think Ashley will say that it's a complete application, and we would ask under your code that it be referred to the planning board. And the planning board is required to review this proposal and make a recommendation to you. It doesn't prevent you from asking further questions, vetting some things, completing the secret process. It's just part of your code that says it's got to go to the planning board. They've got to report. You cannot hold a public hearing until they either report, or will I believe that there might be a time period there that if they don't report, you're able to. But so that's the next steps.
So there'll be an opportunity for us to, for lack of a better word, vet whatever it is that's presented, and also then to have public hearings, which will then take the temperature of the town as far as what they want with this.
That is absolute. As a matter of fact, you cannot adopt it without public hearings. You must go through the secret process, which is the vetting process that we're talking about. So the answer to your question is absolutely.
Okay, so what you're proposing today could more substantially in terms of what we're doing based on what we believe, as in your words, the legislative body, as well as tempered by what the public says.
More is probably a good way to say that, yes.
Okay.
Now, in your letter that you had written, you had mentioned that back in 2006, when the original town board approved a special permit for the project, was, of course, for seniors only. And the reason they did it at the time, there's no multifamily housing, but they allowed the seniors, only because of the fact it would produce 0 children in the schools, okay? Now we're hearing 29. Now, I understand it's around $22,000 each student to educate in the town of Southeast, supposed our Brewster Central School System. Whether it's true or not, I didn't ask the question, but let's use 20,000, okay? And we have now, I'm hearing tonight, 29, so you round it up to 30, you're looking at $600,000. Now, that's gonna be picked up by the average taxpayers within the town, which is one of the reasons they allowed senior housing in that OP2 zone, only that zone. Now, if we change it, every zone, OP2, which there's 3 of them in the town, 15 acres plus, which I'm asking you to identify for us, how many that's gonna be, because the one up at Terabas, there's one up there for senior housing as well, another one that's already been approved for senior housing?
That's
Yes,
correct. That's
Okay.
60 units.
6
I don't-
units.
How many units?
60.
60
And those
units,
are separate houses.
separate?
Yeah,
Would that,
they're
would that
three
qualify?
bedroom, correct?
Would that
Tho-
qualify
tho-
for this change?
Those are, Ms. Eckard is correct. That's individual townhome.
Would that qualify for this as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so there's,
Especially they have
ano-
sewer
there's,
there.
there's one that's identified as being another. So there's gonna be a lot of possible future students coming in here, which is gonna affect all the taxpayers, okay?
But again, as part of the secret process, we have to demonstrate the no adverse impacts. This is part of the process. Ms. Eckhart just asked for a good analysis. You're asking for a good question. All part of what we must address. So the answer is that we will get you your answers, and you'll consider that as part of your determination to make a decision on the petition.
Okay, the only thing is, when you ask for a zone text change, okay? I mean, it sounded simple to me until I read what you provided us, okay? And I started looking.
I made it complicated?
Yeah, no,
I appreciate
I wouldn't say it was complicated, it was lawyerly.
Ooh, I'm not sure that's good.
Ouch.
But, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds a little vulgar.
Didn't you think?
But if you address those issues, like when we get it, before we forward it to the planning board, I mean, the planning board themselves are gonna want to know, I think they'd wanna know all that information, so provide it up front.
Yeah, the one place where I disagree with you with all due respect is that's part of the secret process, that vetting, as opposed to doing it when we just submit the petition. We prove our case after the referral and with the commencement of the secret process. I hope that will, I mean, I don't,
The
I
planning
don't have a
board,
problem
the
with
planning board
providing.
would be an involved agency in the secret review.
Right. Yes.
And I think Ashley is best to guide, the town board on this.
And because they'll be back and forth, they'll be vetting, that's through the process. I don't mind answering some of the questions that we can answer quickly for you to move along, but the in-depth review comes through the secret process.
Okay.
I just don't understand though why Ashley's letter only, that they never saw that. I mean, why did, how many meetings were there going on?
I didn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, this has been going on for how long, and you guys didn't get a copy of the letter? Because you may not have wanted to come here then tonight, because
Well,
you're kind of not wasting your time, but
They had already.
it's a little unfair that
No, I don't
the lawyers
think,
are
I don't think it was
sitting there.
unfair. When I got it, I didn't send it to them, not for any particular reason, but they had already invited people here this evening.
Well,
Okay.
who did?
They did.
Well, I know, but,
And that's not a problem. So it's here.
no, I just think that in
I think
fairness,
we're
they
getting-
should have gotten the letter when we got the
There-
letter. I don't know why, I don't know. I'm just saying it's,
I think what we have to do is just correct it in the future. We'll speak to Ashley and just say, when
Didn't you get?
when this
I got
occurs,
it.
that
They
it has
didn't
to be
get it.
Oh,
done.
then you should send it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not my job. It's the law.
because,
Not mine.
quite
Ashley
frankly,
should
We
have
do have a
sent it.
question too.
To Mr. Cohen's point is that we did submit March 1st. She could have given me a call and said, just get it over here. Like I said, get the check over here. Got the check over
No,
here.
no, she didn't answer the check.
That was,
Town clerk.
The town clerk does it.
oh yeah, how could I forget that? But I mean, it could have been done at the same time, but whatever, listen, we,
Like I
Someone wants
said,
to-
I just think.
Someone's got their
you
hand
know,
up, who wants to
Any
speak?
applicant should have gotten,
Yeah.
if this started March
Yeah, people
1st
coming.
to the last
is that if
one.
I can get you that EAF, that we could be at the next town board meeting, that would help to address that delay. Oh, I don't know.
Good evening. My name is Ferg Foley. I have about 40 years in the military. I'm retired. For the last 10 years or so, I've been heavily involved with different advocacy groups, basically looking for the improvement of quality of life for veterans and families. And I just have to say that I got so moved and motivated by this project here because with all the different obstacles that we've run through in trying to improve the quality of life, with all the things that are happening out there right now, it has really been tough between budgets and funding and everything else. Seeing something like this with a for-profit organization, the not-for-profit UCP, pulling together, trying to figure ways to make this work. I know there's legalities to go with things, but it's the first time in a long time I've seen something like this that somebody wanted to do. And when I talked to some of the different veterans that would be in this category, they were really, really excited that something like this was happening, that the opportunity would exist, and that someone's actually thinking about doing this. I will say one thing, just it came to mind about numbers. I know as of 2013, as far as veterans in the Hudson Valley, Dutchess, from what I understand, has 20,000. There's about 5,100 here in Putnam. And Westchester, they have 36,000 registered, and another 20,000 they feel are there that they really haven't registered at all. So that's about 81, 82,000. I'm not sure about the other counties. So the numbers are there. But what's really interesting also, and I know it's a long shot, but I've also heard from veterans that are from the area that can't come back because New York's expensive to live. So what they tend to do is live in the vicinity of the military towns that they ETS out of. So to me, it was like another opportunity to bring people back home when they have a fighting chance to actually be part of the community again. And the vision that I have in particular, and again, this is in regard to veterans, I just envisioned a young family where the veteran had a couple of deployments. They come back, they're trying to get started, they're reintegrating, and if there is a medical issue, they can be in one place where their community among themselves for support, and they have, of course, the medical capabilities as well. But the beauty of it is, it's a community within the community. So they're among themselves, but they're also in the community as well. And I think as a result, they become a more productive citizen, which benefits everybody. It's a win-win. And of course, for me personally, it's always about the children and the families. And that's when I saw all this come into fruition. That's why I got excited. You know, and I was really hoping that it would keep going to the next step. So firstly, I think with you guys, I don't think it's an issue about taking care of the military. I think we all believe that and do it once you get past some of these other hurdles here. But I just want to thank you for the time and considering this. I want to thank everybody else that's doing what they can to make this work. So many people say never forget or support the troops. They got the ribbons on the tailgates, but sometimes there's very few people that actually go out there and actually do this. And this is living proof right here where it's happening or trying to happen. So. I just want to give you my 2 cents there on the veterans piece. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you want to say something?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dan Armstrong, taxpayer. I just want to defend Ashley and AKRF because it seems to me that we've kind of shifted responsibility here as to who is responsible for a complete application. The property owner here, the developer, and the people working for him are very highly qualified and know this town inside out. They are responsible to present a complete application. They know Ashley's number, they know the planning board's number, they know the chairman's number, and if they had a doubt as to whether or not they had presented a complete application, they could have resolved it. It's not the town's responsibility to tell applicants what they should have in their application. It's in the zoning ordinance. The environmental laws are known pretty clearly to most people in this profession. I just don't think that we should be apologizing respectfully for what the town planner did or did not do.
I'm not beating Ashley up. I like her very much. I was surprised that they didn't get the letter when we got the letter. I didn't see who got it. I just assumed the applicant should have gotten it 2 days ago because then maybe they wouldn't have deferred coming here and, whatever. I don't know.
Tonight is not wasted.
No, and I would agree with you, Mr. Supervisor. It's not wasted at all. You gave us an opportunity to speak. You gave us an opportunity to appear before the public. And for that, we're grateful. As to what Mr. Armstrong said, I've had applications in multiple communities, and they don't get into the secret process until after referrals, et cetera, because the secret process comes in with respect to vetting something as part of a process. So municipalities vary. Let's get past this. If I can get this to you before your next board meeting, if we can be on that agenda, that's fine. That's what we'd like to do. I'm not sure when your next board meeting is, but I'm sure that someone here can tell me.
May 7th.
You said the.
Yeah, now it's
May 7th. I've been saying 9th all day. He just said 9th to 7th.
I'm going to see if I can get everything. I'll talk to Ashley tomorrow and see what I can do to get things to you before that time, and hopefully we can appear again.
Thanks.
Okay? Thank you for your time, and thank the audience as well.
Okay, next item is number 4, accessory apartment and rental occupancy. We had this on the agenda last month. I've updated the information. Basically, it is, bless you. Actually, it's just a fee schedule in particular, which is marked page 4 at the bottom. Accessory apartment renewal. As you know, everything's going to be 3 years. One was 2, one was 3, everything's going to be 3 years. Accessory apartment renewal will be $300. It's $100 a year. It's $25 a year more, but they no longer have to pay the rental occupancy, which was something they had to pay later on. So they're paying $300 for 3 years. Rental occupancy, which is a different law, is $150 for 3 years. And per unit in the same structure will go to $100 for 3 years. So that's the change, and I'd like to move that to our next meeting. And since it's a change, we have to have a public hearing. So I'd like to move this, go to a public hearing. Well, do we have enough time to get it in for the next?
No.
No? Okay, so after April 7th at 14?
No, it's May.
I'm sorry. I'm having a tough time with months. May 21st is the public hearing. So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Michelle, remind me about that tomorrow.
Get the right
I
month.
can't even keep track of what year we're in. I'm having so much fun. Okay. Discussion, modify schedule for accessory apartment rental. We did that as well. That was just done. Next is number 6, to amend chapter 96 noise. We discussed it last time. The young lady that we just spoke about helped us out and gave us some new wording here. Joe will have an opportunity to read it.
Yes.
Okay. Construction work shall mean all work provided by one or more employees and or independent contractors pursuant to an oral agreement for compensation involved in the construction, reconstruction, demolition, or removal of buildings or major repairs to buildings, the excavation, clearing, filling, or grading of land, or the placement or removal of earth, stone, building material of any kind, whether or not the work involves the use of machinery or power tools, and the term construction work shall not mean the performance of necessary emergency repairs. Here's the recommendations. Operation lawnmowers between the hours, it says 8 a.m. and 9. I would like to change that 9 to 9, if anything. I think 8 o'clock is a bit too early. I don't sleep on Sunday, but I know some people do. Bob?
9 to, yeah.
9 to 9?
9 at night?
Well,
That's
you
kinda
tell me,
late.
tell me the time.
We're talking Monday through Friday, though?
No, no, no.
Sunday, just Sunday.
Oh,
Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
No, not 9 o'clock.
Well, no,
I
it
thought
says-
even on Sunday, we talked about 9 to 5.
Right, that's what I would say.
No, no, wait, no, this here, this is
These are
the exempt.
Right.
This is current. You can do a snow blower, but operational lawnmowers, this says now 8 a.m. This is not just Sundays, this is all the time, okay? It says 8 a.m. I think, again, I'd like to change that to 9, and what time at night? Would you guys be comfortable
I
with?
gotta find out.
And that's every day.
WS number 6, pardon? Every
And
day?
that's every day?
Yes.
For,
You know, I think 9 is going to be, since it's every day, is too late, because you do, I mean, there are contractors out there all the time that they start their day at 8.
Yeah, I think it's.
Leave it?
8 a.m. is when I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll have to leave it. Okay, now D is the one we're looking at, basically. Construction, activity, or work, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturdays from 9 to 5. That's construction activity, okay? Now, what she's added is H. An individual may perform construction activities, him or herself, on a residential property on which such individual resides on Sunday from 9 to 5 p.m. That's for, Joe, average homeowner, can do what he wants, but you can't go out and hire someone to come in and do their work for you. I can live with that. That's a good compromise. Everyone agree with that compromise?
Yeah, but going back to D though, on Saturdays, we're gonna try to limit it 9 to 5. I mean, if we're taking away Sunday,
No,
not taking
that's
away
different.
Sunday,
That's,
really.
that's currently,
So Sunday, you're not supposed to do it as of now.
Right,
So we're
exactly.
actually adding,
well, that was the debate
Right.
last time. Some people
Well,
thought it
right.
was allowed, and other people thought it wasn't
Well,
allowed, so, you know.
it's by
I thought it was
omission,
never
it's-
allowed, yeah.
well, lawn mowing, snow blowing, agriculture equipment, all those things are currently in the law.
right.
And the only thing she changed are construction activity or work. We're clarifying now Sundays.
Right.
Well, I'm trying to go back to D. I think we should extend the workday, if we're making it official that people can't do construction, you know,
No, they
like hire a
can on
No, no.
contractor.
Right.
Construction, Monday through Friday, is 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Right.
And on Saturday from 9 to 5.
That's what I'm saying. Now, why should we limit Saturday if we're limiting Sundays now?
I think that's what it was. That's always the way it was.
That's the way it
Yes,
was?
it
Yes,
really was.
That's
I-
the way it was. That never changed. See, the only thing that was lacking in this was the word Sunday.
Okay.
Those were previous, and I don't think
Yeah.
we should, there's no need, I don't know, I don't want to change that.
Yeah, I.
So H is the one that addresses Sunday.
Yep.
An individual may perform construction activities, him or herself, you know, husband and wife can help, okay? On a residential property on which such individual resides on Sunday from 9 to 5. In other words, you can't have a contractor come in and build your house, build your deck. You as a, you know, yourself, your son, your family members can put up your porch if you want, put up a shed if you want. So that, I think that's a good compromise. It stops big construction from taking place.
Yep.
You can't hire someone to do the work. Us poor guys can do it ourselves, and Bob? Okay. Next is 96-6.1, prohibitions is hereby added as follows. Any construction activity or work outside the hours identified in section 96.6 shall be prohibited. Furthermore, construction activity or work is prohibited times during the federal holidays, and they have New Year's Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, and the only one I don't agree with is President's Day.
Right, and I would say the same thing, that's not a real.
So I'd like to remove the word President's Day from that.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna have much outdoor work anyhow.
Okay, so we're gonna take that one off the list.
And I don't know how everyone else feels, but I think, I'm not really crazy about those Sunday work, but I'll live with that. But I think we should make prohibitions Easter Sunday, Mother's Day, and Father's Day.
It's not on here?
No.
Okay, what do you want, Easter Sunday?
I guess that wasn't on because it would be a Sunday. I would
Right.
presume that's why
Okay, so,
Easter.
Well, I would say Easter Sunday, you know, I don't think people should.
well, you can't do it in, oh, you can't mow
Well,
your
no-
lawn?
Right.
Right, well,
It would be you can add it in, but it's a Sunday anyhow.
Okay, Easter Sunday, what else?
as a
Just put it
prohibition,
Easter.
and then maybe Mother's Day and Father's Day. I don't think people, if they're gonna have a barbecue or family over, that they want to
But
hear
if
their
you're
those
neighbor
are
back.
Sundays.
You're doing it on your own. You're not hiring a
Right.
contractor.
I know, but I don't,
But those are all Sundays.
but I don't want my neighbor making a shed on Mother's Day. That's what I'm saying.
But he can.
It might be for his
He
wife.
can now.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
if it's for his wife? Huh?
I mean, it's up to you guys,
I'm
that's
not
just
comfortable
me.
with that.
So you want them to work on Mother's Day and?
That's their choice.
It's
Yeah,
a
but that's-
but those are all Sundays. I think that's why, well, I especially think
But
with
if we're
Easter.
gonna allow people to work on Sundays, 9 to 5.
Right, you have
I
to,
think
you have
Right.
to
in
outline.
In their
fairness
own
to
house.
in their own house, right, but I think in fairness to the neighbors, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, they may not wanna hear the neighbor making stuff. I mean, this is just me talking, it's up to you guys, majority rules.
What if Will's gonna put up a new deck for his wife? He can't do it now.
Not on Easter or Mother's Day, you should do it the day before, the week
Most
before.
people aren't
Don't
going
wait
to
till the
work
last minute,
on
Will.
those days anyway, with the
Okay.
exception of
Yeah.
Mr. Hay, you know.
Yeah.
What's the will of the board? You want those days?
As an exemption. I
I'd
mean,
Yeah, we
rather,
can't-
I'd rather not include them.
I'd rather just keep federal holidays, frankly. I
Yeah.
think it keeps.
Me too.
I think federal holidays just
2,
keeps it clear.
Edwin, 3? Yes?
Right, keep it as is, not Mother's
Hey,
Day.
just
Father's
removing
Day.
President's Day, though.
All right.
Okay, we got 3 votes that way.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll just have to.
I make a motion, we move that to a public hearing for May 21st.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're moving right along. Okay, take a motion to go into the regular meeting portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Waive the reading of the correspondence.
I second it.
2, approval of the voucher list, $823,641.17. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Setting of public dates and public hearings. All meetings will be held 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York, at 7 p.m. unless otherwise noted. Thursday, May 7, 2015. Thursday, May 21st, 2015. So moved.
Flawless. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll move the budget transfers. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5, this is resolution to amend Chapter 138 zoning regarding digital submissions. Move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
6, resolution to reimburse former employees for court appearances and preparation. Basically, what this does is, we discussed this just at the last meeting. I'll read it quickly. Resolve, if a former town employee or elected official is required by town and our attorneys representing town in litigation or potential litigation matters to assist or give testimony, the following will apply. 1, the former town employee shall be entitled to be compensated for his or her time, provided he or she has been subpoenaed or asked in writing to provide testimony on behalf of the town by an attorney representing the town in a litigation matter. 2, in order to receive compensation, the former employee shall submit invoice/voucher to the Town of Southeast Town Supervisor or the attorney representing the town shall audit and, if appropriate, shall sign off on all periodic vouchers submitted by the former employee or officer for time, mileage, tolls, and parking fees. No other expenses shall be reimbursed. A, the former employee officer shall be paid an average hourly rate for the position that he or she last employed at the time he or she was last employed by the town as determined by the town accountant. B, the former employee shall be paid the federal mileage reimbursement rate in effect on the date such mileage is incurred. C, the former employee shall be reimbursed for all tolls and parking fees actually incurred upon presentation of receipts for such charges. So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Okay, next is a resolution to fill, an appointment to fill the unexpired term of the Ethics Board. You know what, I lost my, anyone have the thing I gave to that person?
Resume?
Okay, okay. What's the name of the person?
Nancy Jacobs, I believe is the name.
No.
I got it right here.
What's the name?
We'll be
Her name is
appointing,
Nancy
Nancy
L.
L.
Jacob,
we'll be
Jacob.
appointing some random person.
Okay.
It's like, surprise.
Okay, resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby appoints Nancy L. Jacob, J-A-C-O-B, to fill the unexpired term of Peter Perry of the Southeast Ethics Board, and further resolved that this appointment shall take effect upon the taking and filing of the appropriate oath of office with the town clerk of the town of Southeast. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Financial report by the supervisor. It's still way too early in the year. Everything is good right now. I hope it lasts that way the rest of the year. Again, because of the tough winter, we do have money still in the budget, but will it be enough for November, December? That would be questionable, and it all depends on the weather, and I can't believe I saw snowflakes today.
know, that's crazy.
So, in upstate, they had about 1 to 2 inches, so yeah, just never know. But other than that part of the budget, everything at this point in time, of course, is pretty easy. Okay. Recognition of the public for comment. Recognition of the town board for comment.
Yes. It's really fast. It's Earth Day cleanup. It is this Saturday and Sunday. I will be in the village handing out bags, gloves, and safety vests, some safety vests. So that's April 25th and 26th from 8 to 12 at 60, in front of 67 Main Street. So please, if you see this before then, come out and clean up our roads. They really need it this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Edwin, thank you for your presentation this evening.
Thank
It was
you.
very, you did a very nice job. It was very
Appreciate
nice.
it, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for
And for-
mentioning me first when I told you not to mention me at all.
That's what you get for
I
saying
don't,
that.
I don't want you to get into the habit of thinking I listen to you.
Oh, God.
You know,
Bad enough I want to crawl under the table as it is. Jeez.
Tony is very meek, but he is a Vietnam veteran who received the Purple Heart. He served in the Marine Corps. And we thank you for your service. You
Yes.
know you don't want to hear
I
it.
will correct that, he is humble, but the
Humble.
man is not
Okay,
meek.
I apologize.
He
That was
is
the
not
proper
meek.
word, humble, yes.
Thank you.
I was gonna say self-effacing.
Yes.
I'd have to ask for a definition of it, but I will not.
I'll make a motion that we close tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Headley, for your good ones.